Greetings, everyone, and welcome to an especially ball-bouncingly fun episode of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
Monster Party!
It's huge! It's monstrous! It's massive! It's big!
It's happening right now at this table.
Gosh. And there's a lot of energy here.
Oh my
A lot
goodness!
of energy
Holy
at this
shit.
table.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm about ready to burst.
Yeah, my neighbors have called 3 times, and I've had to assure them that my wife and I are doing fine. There's not any arguing that's going on in the domestic realm.
No, and I'm so excited. But who are you, sir?
I am Matt Weinhold,
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Strothe.
And I'm James GONIS.
and we got a show. This is actually a sequel.
Yeah.
It's a sequel to a show that we did with another friend of the show, Sue Murphy.
Sue Murphy. It was
Yes.
Lovely. We love her.
This was a very popular show.
Popular and loads of fun.
A lot of arguments.
A lot of arguments,
Yeah.
and I think that you guys will have arguments as you're listening to this podcast.
Well, hopefully there won't be as many hurt feelings as there was on the last one.
We'll see.
I certainly hope so. I'm looking for more hurt feelings.
Are you?
But that's me.
Well, Matt, what is our topic?
The topic is Overrated and Underrated Volume 2.
Overrated, underrated, volume 2.
Movies that we think are either overrated or criminally underrated.
Could it be like
Thank you, Sean, for explaining that.
I had to
I felt that the
specify
title
that.
was ambiguous. In
Just
many
in
ways.
case.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
What are they talking about?
Well, we have the perfect guest for this.
Oh, yes, we do.
Because this is a guy that I've known for years. Somebody
too.
that I have not been in touch with and wanted to get in touch with again. He's the perfect guest for this.
We love him.
He
We
is-
loved him close and
Yes.
from afar.
Yes, he is an award-winning film critic. He has been on Access Hollywood.
Oh, that's
he's,
good.
He's the president of the LA Online Film Critics Society.
I've been to their breakfasts.
He's moderated panels and Q&As
I love
and
panels.
award shows. He's done reviews for NPR, for KTLA, KTTV,
All things considered.
TV Guide channel, tons of stuff. He is wherever there's an energetic, knowledgeable review of a movie, you're going to find this guy.
Oh my gosh, Sean,
We're
is
talking
our
about
guest?
Scott Mantz.
Scott Mantz!
Welcome, Scott.
Now, Scott.
Wow.
Yes. Scott and I worked together years ago, back in the 90s. It was a
That's
magical
right.
time. When
At Burger
Scott,
King?
Scott, yes, we've been following each other. We mirror each other in our career paths. But we worked on a show for the Sci-Fi Channel
Right.
called Sci-Fi Entertainment.
Right.
Sci-fi entertainment.
Like a
lovely-
news program,
Yeah.
news entertainment tonight, kind of for
There you
sci-fi
go.
and horror.
Exactly like that.
Right.
And
Nobody watched it.
nobody watched it.
We watched it. though.
Co-hosted by the lovely and talented Chase Masterson.
Right.
And we had fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
And it was Scott's job to feign laughter at my comedic bits during the show. And he always sold it. So.
That's why I won awards, by the way. Because I feigned the laughter. But guys, thank you for having me on
Of
this
course.
show.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you for making it.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Great to
mean,
see you again.
It's great to be seen.
Yeah.
And it's great to see you again. And it's great to meet you guys, James and Larry.
Great to meet you.
And
Larry?
anytime you want to talk about movies and debate and get it to overrated, underrated, movies, it's all about the passion. And, you can know a lot about film. But when you display the passion is infectious. And when I really love a film, the passion I have for it is infectious. And, one of the things that I was able to do for all those years working on a show like Access Hollywood is that, especially for independent films, most recently, if you want to look at a film like The Big Sick, which I saw at Sundance in January of 2017, I love that movie to pieces. And every time I had a chance to really talk about it on a national show, I felt like it was sort of like building up so more people would sort of seek it out when it opened that June. And that turned out to be an across the board hit. Critics loved it. The moviegoers loved it. It was a movie for the masses. It wasn't just like an independent film.
It's a personal story.
It's a personal story.
Right.
And the year before, I think the movie that I really went apeshit for was La La Land.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
to get out.
No.
I
Hey,
love that movie.
I do too.
Yes.
I like
I
love that movie, Matt
Possibly,
Weinhold.
how could you
Wow.
possibly love that?
So,
Have you seen other musicals?
I love that movie so much. Let me count the ways. I will
Yes.
tell you what I love
Count
about
one.
that film. I love how it's a fusion of past and present. It feels
Yes.
like a throwback, but it's very contemporary.
Collision.
Yes.
I love the music.
Yes.
All of the musical
Have you heard
numbers-
other music?
will you let the man talk,
All
please?
the musical numbers were done in one.
Musical numbers? I think I missed those.
Were done in one complete take.
Maybe they should have had two.
I get what you're getting at. Were Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling were they Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers?
No, then don't
Or
make
were they
them
trying
dance.
to be?
He's missing the point.
It is a movie about L.A. It is a movie about Hollywood. It is
Yes.
a movie about movies. It is a love letter to all of those things. I thought Ryan Gosling
Yes.
and Emma Stone were terrific
I
together.
agree.
It's a hackneyed cliche for people who have never seen a musical.
No, it's just it's not for people who are bitter and jaded and burnt
It
out.
can be.
It's not for pessimists.
No, it is not.
Just isn't.
But you know what? Yes,
I wanted to like it.
Even if you took the musical element out of it, it works as a relationship story.
Oh,
It's
get
about
out
two
of here.
people.
Get out.
serious.
Okay.
Listen,
okay.
Wow.
guys, here is a film about two people who meet at just the right time. They fall in love. They have different career paths, but they inspire each other. They elevate each other.
They support each other.
And they support each
Yes.
other.
They support.
Their struggle through entertainment. The piano player, all he has to do is accept a job by his friend, and he's an immediate star. All she has to do is do her one-woman show, because that always is the road to stardom.
I see a little too
Unbelievable.
a little too close for you,
And
Matt. A
boring.
little too close.
No, 20
But-
minutes into that movie, I was like, oh, this is going to be a hard slog.
But the thing is, guys, the last 10 minutes of that movie, the last 15 minutes, that what if scene
Yeah.
was it really got to me. It warmed my heart.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the film, when they give each other
Please
that
spoil it.
final look,
Yes.
they're looking at each other across the room. They didn't end up together, but they give each other a look where they still love each other. It didn't work out because the very thing that brought them together is what ultimately took them apart. But they had their moment together. They had their time together. They cherish it. They still care about each other. Relationships don't always work. That spoke to me. And that sort of just was the icing on the cake of this
Not
movie.
since the last 15 Lifetime movies have I witnessed such intricate drama.
But Scott, this is great. This
That's
is
our
wonderful.
show, everybody,
But
so-
I think we're going to be talking about stuff that's overrated and underrated in the genre science fiction, fantasy, and horror.
And Scott, you're a big sci-fi fan too. You're a big Star Trek fan.
Massive.
Are you more maybe sci-fi than horror, or horror too? I mean,
More sci-fi than horror.
Okay.
I like horror when it's good.
Right,
I thought
right.
last year was 2017 was an outstanding year for
Okay.
the
Oh,
genre.
sure,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean more of a sci-fi guy. Definitely Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars. Battlestar Galactica.
Fire out Space Nuts.
But Far Out Space
Space Nuts. Come on, underrated.
Underrated, Sean.
Where's
Why?
that convention?
Yeah.
How is that?
How about we let Scott start us off here? Why don't we
start
have
us with either
give us-
underrated or
give us an
overrated
underrated or
sci-fi or
or
horror.
right.
And we're going to go around the table. here.
Underrated.
Underrated. Okay.
Underrated.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
going to start off.
Okay.
I'm really going to let the shit fly with this one. Are you ready? Are you ready, fellas? Are you
am.
ready, James?
I am.
Larry,
My nipples
Sean,
are hard.
Matt?
Go.
I am.
Okay, here it is. Underrated. Superman 3.
Oh.
Interesting.
Oh my gosh! Really?
I said I was going to let the shit fly.
Wow.
It's flying. Boy, it's like
All
crazy
right.
around here.
No, I'm happy now. I'm happy.
You mean like in a pure kind of just entertainment level? Like in what way is it
Okay,
underrated?
it's
Because-
Sean
not
said.
appreciated for what it is. Okay, it's the first Superman movie, the first one that came out in 78.
classic.
With
Love it.
Christopher Reeve,
Perfect
Richard
movie.
Donner directing.
And
yes.
it really is, to this day, that movie came out 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is, that's 40th anniversary
Yeah.
of Superman the
Yeah.
movie. Wow. That movie still to this day is the gold standard of comic book movies.
I agree.
with
Yeah.
you. No,
The best.
no, I agree with you.
Fantastic.
I agree
Best.
with you.
Yeah,
Now-
it has aged well in the sense that no one's watched it.
No, I've watched it.
I
I just watched
that
it the other
movie
day.
over and over
Really?
again.
Yes.
Well, now you've got the Richard Donner cut, and it's interesting what they've done. They rebuilt Superman 2 with the Donner footage, and you can rewatch.
I haven't
that
watched.
movie.
I haven't
Yeah, I've
watched
not
the Donner
seen
cut.
that.
It's
I'm really
worth it.
curious.
It's
Okay,
worth it.
all right.
But Superman 2, whether you're watching the Donner cut or the Richard Lester cut,
Right.
it's just as good as Superman 1 for different reasons. It's more of a complete single story. Like the first Superman movie, it's basically 3 movies in one.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yes.
what I
Right.
liked about Superman 3
Oh.
is this. It was so fundamentally, colossally different from the first 2 movies.
True.
Sure.
It was funny. The whole opening
Funny.
sequence.
Funny.
It was
You-
funny.
So you think just throwing Richard Pryor in there, that's going to make it funny? Is that what you think?
I liked that Christopher Reeve, the Superman, they were in character, even though the tone of the film was more.
They played
amusing.
it straight.
What's that?
Yeah,
They played it straight. Is
They
what you're
played
saying.
it straight.
That's true.
And also, I mean, the scene where Superman gets evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the scene where Superman and Clark Kent fight in the garbage dump.
Yeah.
Like that scene alone makes the movie.
That's the centerpiece of the movie.
And also, I got to tell you, who played the villain? Robert Vaughn.
Robert Vaughn, yeah.
Robert
War
Vaughn
Room's always great in
was
everything.
Hilarious. Like I love that. My favorite line of the movie is this: Robert Vaughn says to Richard Pryor on the phone, he goes, "I ask you to kill Superman, and you can't do that. One simple thing." I mean, come on. That's funny. And like it goes back to Smallville with Lana Lang and the reunion. It had a big heart. And like all the stuff when Superman like turned evil because the kryptonite wasn't exactly right on because he had that mysterious element that he put
tar,
tobacco in,
yeah, tar.
And
Right.
I just thought it was it was so tonally and fundamentally different from the first 2. I welcomed the change. I get why people don't like it. I hated Superman 4, but I think that Superman 3 on its own terms is entertaining for completely different reasons that make the first 2 movies
I think
entertaining
the
themselves.
reason why maybe I was against it so much is because they treated the first film. They treated the character with such reverie. They really they took things seriously.
Seriously.
It was grand. The whole stuff on Krypton was so cool, and I just felt. I mean, because I'm a huge Richard Pryor fan, but just it felt like such a gimmick. Such a let's just shove a popular comedian
Yeah,
of the day
at the
in
time.
there.
Yeah.
It's like to me, it was kind of cheapening.
It
the
was
Superman character.
It was
I mean,
forced. It didn't fit to me. And the other thing too is I understand what people said about Superman 1 was they loved it and they loved those itty bitty little moments of comedy in the first one. For example, when Superman, for the first time when you see him as Superman, he comes out of the building, he looks up and he sees the helicopters, kind of crashing, and he starts to run on the sidewalk. He stops at what appears to be a phone booth, but it's not a phone booth, it's just a phone.
It's
And he
just a
looks it up
phone.
and down. And I remember sitting in the movie theater at that moment, and he looks up and down and then takes off to go into the other thing. The audience roared.
See, that's a good-
No, hang on.
No, I'm agreeing with you. That's a great subtle gag.
And it was a great, funny moment. And for some reason, the producers said after they finished 1 and 2, you know what? People love the comedy. We need to throw some comedy. And Sean's right. From the very moment of the beginning of Superman 3, what I hated, they weren't taking it seriously. They was like, let's poke fun. Let's make people like trip and do funny things.
Oh, the opening credits.
And, that's just with one part of it.
That was like
I loved it. I loved it.
Even when you
I laughed my ass off.
Yeah,
that
you're-
movie came out in 1983.
Yeah.
Fact check me on that, Sean.
No, it's true.
And
Yes,
I,
yes.
when Richard Lester took over Superman 2,
Yeah, it was a
from
mistake.
Richard Donner.
Yeah. Ugh.
So he basically made a Richard Donner movie for the most part.
What?
He
No,
finished.
no,
Well,
no.
he
He's
talking about
he
Superman
made his
2.
version
Okay.
of a Richard Donner movie
Right.
because it still had elements of humor.
Sure.
But when
terrible humor.
When he started doing Superman 3, he's like, okay, now I'm going to make the Superman movie I really want to make.
Right.
And it just, and I see your point about Richard Pryor, felt like a gimmick. And there were times when I felt like Superman, Christopher Reeve, Clark Kent, he was a guest star in his own movie, which is why
Right.
later on, when they were talking about Eddie Murphy doing Star Trek 4, remember
What?
those rumors?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
I'm glad
I
that
don't-
never happened.
I don't remember that.
Because that's what would have happened.
No.
Yeah.
That movie was goofy enough as it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
But
Eddie
yes.
Murphy was like the king of Paramount for a while. And
Yeah,
that's
he
when they
could
were
probably
doing
do
Put it
whatever
in
he wanted
anything,
to.
right?
Yeah.
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 But it's refreshing to hear somebody actually champion Superman 3 because it's the first time I've heard it.
Yeah, you're like the first person I've ever heard. Are you like what's
Larry,
going on with you?
I told you I was going to start off with a bang.
Yeah, but it's like,
And I did not disappoint.
I want to get these guys all riled
I will
up.
agree.
Do you
It
really
is-
feel that way?
It is the La La Land.
Hang on a minute here. What are you doing to me?
So, wait, Scott, let me ask you though: was Superman 3? Because I don't remember. Was it a hit?
It was not a hit.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, so
it
it
wasn't.
The first two movies were hits.
Okay.
The first movie came out in 78. The second movie came out in
81.
80. It came out in 81. And then the third movie came out in 83 and the fourth movie came out in 87.
I will say that after watching Superman 4, going back to watching Superman 3 made me appreciate it way more.
Oh, man.
But in a way,
this is down to earth.
But Superman 4 is terrible.
Yeah, but in a way, it's a kind of like a train wreck kind of terrible that if you take it in the right way, it's kind of amusing to watch if you're just. It is. It's terrible all the way around.
I can't watch it, Scott. I can't.
Three or four?
No,
Four,
three.
four.
Well,
Really?
four. Yes.
I
No,
can't
I
watch
can't.
it.
I'm
It's not that
insulted.
bad.
I'm insulted.
Okay, I
What,
haven't
not
seen-
that bad.
If I'm flipping through on cable and I come across Superman 3, I will keep that son of a bitch on.
Oh yeah. You know what? You know why? Yeah, I get it.
probably
No,
will, too.
No,
And
it's
now that you say that,
no,
now
no,
I'm curious.
Give it another
Scott's,
chance.
yes,
'Cause I haven't
Scott's.
watched it in a long time.
Well,
so
Scott's Mr. Comedian. He's a funny guy. Aha, I'm a clown. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is.
No, it's not.
No, it
has
is.
a lot of
Hey,
heart.
You're like
maybe-
the first person to ever say,
But
I
that's
love
good.
Superman
That's
3.
good.
Superman 3 is good.
We have firsts on the show.
Yes.
That's good.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're listening to the show, tweet me at Movie Man and let me know what you think of
Yeah,
Superman 3.
absolutely.
Occasionally, and you guys might know this, but occasionally I have a medical condition that can only
It's called
be dealt.
cynicism.
You're correct. And the only thing that helps it occasionally is a thing called indica.
Right.
And so sometimes when I'm, administering my indica, indica will tell me, you know what you should do? You should watch Superman 3.
Yeah, there you go.
Under those circumstances,
Again,
maybe,
fellas,
Yeah. Okay.
Underrated.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's
Underrated.
interesting that you say that.
Yeah,
okay.
well,
Okay. All right, James.
Okay.
Oh,
James, go.
Keep it
wow. Well, before the show, we touched on the topic of James Bond movies.
Yes, we did.
I would like to actually bring up a James Bond movie I think is underrated.
Okay.
Okay.
Not, far from the best Bond movie, but I have a certain fondness for The Living Daylights. Part of and I can back this up.
Is Eddie Murphy in that?
Wait,
let me check.
which James Bond is it?
This is the first one with Timothy Dalton.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
and,
okay.
and this was the first one to be released after View to a Kill, which to me was a painful.
Yeah, that was
Bond.
horrible.
That was it was.
I think it's still fun though.
I like the theme song.
The theme song's
The
the
theme
best
song
thing
is
about
great.
it. Kill
Duran Duran?
Duran
Yeah.
Duran.
I'm a fan.
Me too.
They sort of continued the trend with
on board again.
no, View to a Kill had a great theme song. License to Kill theme song by Aha,
Aha, yeah.
was also pretty cool. There's a lot of my look. View to a Kill for me.
James
View to a Kill. View to a Kill for me was so cringe-inducing that to sit through an actually halfway serious Bond movie was really refreshing. And I actually liked that Timothy Dalton was not maybe he wasn't the most charismatic Bond in the world.
I liked his Bond, actually.
Yeah, there was a certain chemistry that he had with. This was also the AIDS decade, so they couldn't have him screw around too much. So he had a
Right.
kind of a monogamous
Kind of,
relationship
yeah.
with Miriam Dabo, and she was really cute, and they had this kind of warmth in a Bond relationship that was kind of rare. And I just remember sitting in this multiplex and thinking, "Wow, this is an actual James Bond movie. This is not something that I'm like embarrassed by."
That came out in 87. Yeah,
87.
I never thought of the whole AIDS thing. You really couldn't have Sean Connery going, "Have you been tested?"
And it had the virtue of being the last Bond movie to be scored by John Barry, who is a trademark
No, he's
Bond,
great.
Right.
He's great.
which was kind of 80s sort of beat stuff, but it also had songs by the Pretenders, which were awesome. So for me, that movie has been a little bit underrated over time. I have a certain affection for it, and that's why.
I
do-
wish he would have
yeah.
gotten better movies. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
No,
good. Yeah.
I agree.
I do like the revenge aspect of that movie because he kind of goes rogue in that movie, and he's on.
Isn't that
Or is
the
that-
second one, License to Kill?
Oh, is it? Oh, you're right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice
Whereas
one,
against
Sean.
Robert
God, that's
Davi.
wait. So
Wow.
wait. So what is? So what is?
License to Kill was 89, and it was Robert Davi as the drug lord. In
Yeah,
South
that's the
America.
one I.
It's
kinda
it's
like.
where he has a license to kill.
Oh yeah.
But he's always had a
Get it
license
together,
to kill.
Sheridan.
But
I
so
don't
what is
know.
the plot of this one though? I can't even remember.
That's the point.
Yeah, I think that's
no,
yeah.
This has to do with Afghanistan and
Oh, is
rebels
Joe
and
John
freedom-
Baker in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That explains it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess it wasn't just. I have to give it another shot, but it wasn't memorable to me.
He was,
I guess-
but I liked going to Timothy Dalton. I thought it was a great thing because he felt like he was doing a little bit more of like the Connery kind of rough and tumble, not as much the urbane,
Well, no,
sophisticated gentleman.
Right.
You
That
know,
Roger
always
Moore
with
was.
the cocktail in his hand. Like he would mix it up a little bit. He'd get dirty.
Yeah,
Right.
And with Roger Moore, they had degenerated into parody and stuff.
Yeah,
that's
You
true,
needed
yes, yeah.
you needed something to bring the franchise back up, and the the linchpin at that point, at least in '87, was that movie. So I appreciated it for that.
You know
All right.
what?
Okay.
I got to say about Living Daylights. I remember when it came out, and I saw it maybe twice that year. I haven't had the urge to see it since. I feel
Right.
like kind of like you, Sean, where I was like, it didn't really stay with me. It didn't stick out to me. It didn't.
Yeah. There's no like one scene that kind of I remember really. I mean,
I remember like, okay, it's a new Bond, and like Matt said, he was more of a down and dirty Bond.
Yeah.
and he was. I mean, the only Roger Moore Bond movie where he really did get down and dirty was For Your Eyes Only.
Right.
And that came right after the bloated spectacle that was Moonraker.
right.
I would actually probably agree with you that Living Daylights is underrated because between the two that Timothy Dalton did, it's the better of the two. And I think, you hit on something interesting. Like how do you continue along with the lethargic Bonds in the age of AIDS?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know.
How do you do that?
Because it seems like an anachronism, and it's kind of tone deaf.
Well, I think what they should have done is they should have had a scene where he would take out a wallet and out would come a bunch of condoms that are like folded up
With 007 on it.
No, I'm just saying, it's like hey, and he could go, oh, here we go, and as the condoms
or
came
only
out.
have sex with virgins.
No,
Yeah.
how is he
Oh,
going to
hear me out. By then there had to have been a newsletter or something.
No.
Nurgens,
No. I'm just-
Nurgens.
But that's an interesting one, James. I like that.
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought you were going to say Moonraker.
Really?
Yeah, because I
As
think
underrated?
I think Moonraker is very underrated.
Well,
I love Moonraker.
it's
Me
got
too.
its
It's
pleasures.
fun.
It does
Yeah.
have its
Moonraker is a
pleasures.
ton of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I'm
definitely
Starting
the
to
campiest.
understand some things.
I think it's rated.
Like you finally get me, don't you?
Now I
Matt?
get you.
Look,
Look,
if,
now,
if you love,
Yes.
if you love,
It took 20 years.
if you
but
love
you got
Superman 3, you love Moonraker.
That's true. That's a good double feature.
that was on the poster, wasn't it?
I'm telling you, there are
Yeah.
people out there who love Superman 3, maybe even more than I do. And all
I know
three
that
of
that's
them around this planet are going to love this episode of Monster Party.
I can see it now. They're all like, "Yes, someone's speaking
Someone
out
said
for me."
it.
Yes.
Someone said it.
We did a podcast. These guys who their podcast is all about just Ghostbusters. Just
And
Ghostbusters.
yeah, and they've been doing it for a
yeah.
while.
And they've been
Dedicated.
doing it for a while, so they
Dedicated.
really
What's
get into
left
the
to say about Ghostbusters?
Well,
you can get into the thread count of the outfits. You can
the latest toys that are coming
Right,
out,
yeah.
or incidents like when it happened when they went to go get the toy or whatever. But their shows are also only about 20 minutes long.
But, but they're great guys, and they're
Yeah,
actually
wonderful.
and they're
Awesome.
actually real. They're I think that they bring more interest to the subject matter because they're so entertaining.
Right, they're
But
very
listen,
passionate.
Matt, the next time someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Exactly.
Say classic. But I'm sensing now that there could be a podcast just Superman 3.
Let's
A
do this.
weekly podcast
Fellas,
only about Superman.
it's
3.
overdue.
Yeah,
Right.
and you just talk about
Overdue.
5 minutes of film at a time.
Well,
No.
for all we know, there might be one already.
That's true.
If not, there should be.
No, I don't
Yeah,
know.
please
about
get
that.
a hold of
Now
us.
it's not
But
doing it
okay,
for it.
well, let me throw out one. Okay,
All right, here we
I'm
go.
gonna throw-
Okay,
okay,
Larry.
I'm gonna do it. Okay,
Bring it
no.
on.
This is not a fight.
Is this
okay?
underrated
Yes,
or
it is.
overrated?
No, it is not. But I will tell you something. There are a lot
Okay.
of people here who are big book readers, and some people read more books than others here at the table.
Especially if they have the word comic in front of them.
Exactly. So there was a film that came out a while back, and it was based on a very, very popular book, and everyone was all excited about it, including the director. But something happened where the director had bad feelings about it, decided to take his name off it. He was upset. And when this film came out, people who were big fans of the book hated it. But you know what? I'm one of these people that when I saw it, I didn't know any better. And I really
And you
enjoyed
still
it. And I think it is an
There you
underrated
go.
film.
Now,
I'm talking
now
about,
you're in the game.
yes, from 1984, David Lynch's Dune. Underrated.
I would agree with you.
Underrated.
I would agree.
And let me tell you something. Now, see, you're Mr. Oh, I read. I know all about
You've
Frank
been,
Herbert.
all he's
the
been talking about
Worms,
is all the books that he reads.
Exactly. But
Since
all
he's
I
been
talk
on the
about.
air.
no,
Yeah.
no,
All the
Scott,
comic books
Scott,
that I read.
for me, I had no idea. It's like, oh, what is there's this planet with sand, and there's these giant worms, and look from the very
Sting is in it?
beginning. Yeah,
what's
Sting was
Sting
very
doing here?
Sting was very big at that time. But look, from the very moment when it started, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this environment. This is so wild. Ooh, look at this creepy little maggot thing that's coming out and talking, and
They
there's this,
drink their own pee.
yeah, no. See, it's like everyone's poking fun, but dude, from the
God
very
forbid we
moment,
poke some fun.
from the very moment that it started, man, I was hooked. I didn't know about it, and I had a really good friend who goes, "Oh, it was horrible, Larry. It didn't have anything in there." I go, "Wait, it doesn't have a planet that has sand that has giant worms?" He goes, "Well, yeah, there are worms on there." I go, "Well, that's part of it. They could have put everything in there, but I really, really liked it." And imagine he had the stuff about the religion. He had stuff about being able to have this little machine that you can use a sound, and it can be used as a weapon, and that was really cool. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah.
And I just think that I remember when it came out.
84.
And 84. And there were a lot of friends of mine who were big. I remember they were reading the book and they were like, oh, it was terrible. And I'm like, no, I liked it. Now, I had the figures. I still have the worm.
Do you have the spice?
It doesn't. They don't
I
sell the
I have the
spice.
sand crawler.
He has the sand
And
crawler.
yes, they do sell the spice, but you got to go to Mexico.
Okay, no, but dude, I'm just saying that I have the worm still mint and packaged, and I got a sting.
Larry, I think that at the time when that came out, I think maybe people were expecting like another Star Wars style film.
Yes.
It was
Yeah,
it was David Lynch. It was dark
Yeah,
and strange and twisted.
a little downbeat.
And,
Agreed.
Yeah, but I do think that it's come around a little bit, and it's more appreciated now.
You think it's more of a cult classic now?
Yeah, I do.
Because
Yes.
do you know? But here, we talked on another show. There was a show that we did called "Films That Never Were," and we talked about there was the guy who wanted
Yeah.
to remake Dune,
Right.
and
That would've been insane.
And everyone's jumping on this whole Dune bandwagon. Oh, it was never really done properly. And then there was a TV series that was done.
there were a couple miniseries.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Which
but
actually weren't too bad.
I'm just saying, I think that the movie is underrated because I don't think it's appreciated as much as
Right.
as people like me. And I didn't read the book.
You know
Right.
what? Here's the thing about Dune. Dune is like Blade Runner. I think Blade Runner has become far more appreciated as a movie that was ahead of its time.
Because it wasn't a hit when it came out.
It was not a hit when it came out, but Dune is like Blade Runner Jr. It is far more appreciated and admired now than when it came out in 1984.
Yeah, I agree.
But not on the level of Blade Runner, which is still seen as just the most one of the
Influential,
most influential
yeah,
science
as far as
fiction
style
ever.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
Scott, no, I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you on that. I think it's an underrated film, and I think if you've gone out and if you read the book, sure, maybe you're going to be disappointed. There's some cool things in there, but I just think as a neat science fiction fantasy film, it's
Right.
really cool. And
Yeah,
it's
it is
strange
very
and
different
twisted,
and unique.
I like how it ended. I like
the
how it
art
ended.
direction alone, I
It's
think, is
beautiful.
The
fantastic.
worm effects are
Yeah.
terrific.
And
Yeah.
it's just, like at that time, I think any movie that's going to come out in the early 80s after being weaned on a diet of Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Close Encounters, Alien,
Return of the Jedi.
Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Return of the
E.T.
Jedi, E.T.,
And it-
Raiders.
and it's very, very different compared to all of those films
Yes.
that you just mentioned.
Right. So people go into a film like that. I remember
expectations.
being like, 13 years old, going in to see a film like Blade Runner, thinking, oh, Harrison Ford's in another big sci-fi movie.
Action.
This is going to be awesome. And I was
Yeah.
bored to tears. Same thing with Dune, where I expected it to be another sort of like
Slam bang,
super
pulp.
fun, exciting spectacle.
Right.
And that's just not what that movie
You know,
was.
it's funny. I had the same feelings about Blade Runner as you did, but not with Dune. From Dune, I was just captivated because it's never. It just kept going. I mean, to me, it was very exciting. There was a lot of interesting things that kept happening.
I was the opposite, like, because I did like Dune when I saw it in the theater, but I thought Blade Runner was much better as a film when I
Yeah.
saw it in the theater. Like, I was blown away by that film, and it had a haunting quality to it that was gothic.
Right.
That stuck with me all the way through that movie, and I like the noir element. Once again, we've argued about the narration or
narration.
not,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still, I was into it.
Right.
I had read the Dune books, and so yeah, I was a little put off by some of the things I felt were
Sure.
a little awkward.
Yeah, and I look, I can't argue. I'm just saying that
But I still liked it.
Okay, see, you're different. I think most people who read it are like, I don't like that. But I'm just saying that.
It sounded very
for
much
some-
like the Tasmanian devil right now.
Well, there you go. But I'm just saying.
I would say it felt like Dune, which is I think
Right,
that's
right.
a hard thing to do, is to really recreate the atmosphere
it was
of
its
a
own
book
thing,
that you
yeah.
create in your mind, and to have someone realize it in a visual way where I went, boy, that feels like Dune.
And it's much like we've said this before in the show, Scott, but like the same thing happened, I think, with Carpenter's The Thing. You know, that movie is so appreciated now, but at the time with E.T. and everything else, nobody was ready for that.
Well,
you know?
there's more to it than that. We also did another show. It was called Trailers and Commercials.
Right.
And if you recall, the trailer that they had for it was so it's like
For
they
The
didn't
Thing.
for the thing. You didn't see anything.
Oh, that
anything.
movie
And
is so disturbing.
I'm not saying you need to show the chest. It was almost as if it was a bunch of shots of guys in the snow, and it wasn't really clear. There wasn't anything that made it look like this is really exciting. I think it was the whole ad campaign, and we talked about this. We think
Right.
Universal ad people, they didn't know what to do
I
with
remember
it.
that trailer.
The and
Yep.
there are new trailers that do it when they put some other shots in there from the movie to just give it a little more
If you
feel.
gave some hints
Yeah,
and sold it
hints.
more like a horror movie,
Yeah.
Right.
I think it would have done a lot better.
But
maybe
also-
maybe not much better, but
And I was one of those guys, I went and saw it opening weekend, and I remember sitting in a theater with about 20 other people. I remember going, well, where is it? And at the end
They're
of
all
the movie,
seeing
I
E.T.
thought it
next
was...
door.
Okay,
So
and
you saw-
I remember thinking, oh my God, this is the greatest film. What are these people? And it was rated R. E.T. had come, this is 82,
Yep.
and we're all on the E.T. bandwagon, we're getting our E.T. vitamins and
You know
things.
why? You know why you're on the E.T. bandwagon?
Why?
Because E.T. opened on June 11th, and The Thing opened on June 25th.
Right.
You know what else opened on June 25th? Blade Runner.
No.
This,
Wow,
this
what a
is what
year.
happened. June, not 1982,
It was a magical year of 82.
but
Great.
June of 1982. On June 4th, you had Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan,
Gosh.
and Poltergeist opened on the
Same
day.
day. Yep. Yeah. No,
Then
no,
a week
that-
later.
No, no.
Yes,
no,
yes,
no,
yes,
no, that was
yes,
it. No,
yes.
no, no. That was like awesome.
Hey,
yes.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Awesome. Wait.
You are talking to the king of movie release dates here.
let's get back to words.
Dude,
Yeah.
dude, let's bring it. Okay, well, seriously.
Okay, so we had Poltergeist,
so you had
Khan.
Poltergeist and Khan on June
Yeah.
4th. You had E.T. on June 11th, and then you had The Thing and Blade Runner on June 25th.
2 weeks later.
Wait, so the thing opened the same day as Blade Runner?
Yes.
Oh my
I'm
God.
you also
telling you,
had-
Sean,
you also had-
Sean,
Oh my
June of 82 was like the greatest month in the history of movies.
You had non-genre films like Rocky 3 that also did really well.
That opened the week before Poltergeist and Star Trek 2. And
I
then
remember-
Tron
I remember seeing that.
opened
Crazy.
on the week after The Thing and
Oh
Blade
my
Runner.
gosh.
Yeah, what a
What a
great
6-week
year.
period.
God,
No, and
that's
because I
insane.
worked at the movie theater at that time, and we actually had Poltergeist, and we had Tron, and I remember just loving it. But that whole summer was just fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great
Crazy.
summer.
But
That's
what's
great.
interesting is E.T. I don't think people realized that E.T. was going to be the big blockbuster
No,
that
it
was.
did kinda come
And
out of the
I'm- and
gates
I'm
like-
wondering-
Oh, yeah.
But
Right.
now the thing is, again, the thing is R. It's rated R, and so you're thinking, all right, we're going to go out to the movie. You got the kids. It's like, well, we're not going to go see this R thing. So,
Sure.
well, let's go check out E.T. again or
Not
Poltergeist.
with my
Hey.
parents.
But you watch The Thing now, it is still terrifying.
Oh,
No, it holds up
It's one of our
beautifully.
all-time favorites.
Isn't that
Boy, does it
amazing?
All-time
hold
favorite.
up.
Yeah. Oh, we've talked about the thing so many times on the show. We love it.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
They just showed the second The Thing that was made years later,
my
where they
God.
used a lot of CGI stuff.
Yeah.
And I heard that they tried to do some practical effects, but they have some issues, and so they decided to use CGI. And you look at them like,
Terrible.
God,
It's not
really,
the same.
guys?
No.
Really, you could have gone back to Rob Bottin.
But it's not just the effects of the
No,
characters
no,
are
no, no, no,
completely
no,
forgettable.
no, no.
Every
It's
character in
true.
that movie
Yep.
is completely forgettable.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
And like what's so great about the John Carpenter's The Thing is that you set up those characters. It starts off immediately with the story.
Yeah.
It gets right into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Where this one meanders all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's really just a muddied version of the first one.
Yeah. There's no point
And
to
I
it.
was disappointed. It's neat to see. And the other thing is, why call it The Thing? You can't call it pre-thing or pre or something else.
I have a question.
Call it the that.
I have a question. Guys, weren't we talking about Dune?
Well, no. You just brought up a really good thing. You just,
See? No, we go on tangents.
dude, no.
But we'll bring it back.
Scott, you look. We talked
I love
about
this,
it.
by the way.
You brought
Ferris
up
Bueller's Day Off.
Dude,
Yeah.
no. You've brought up some interesting dates. We've commented on the dates.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So now, this is great. We can move on to Shawn Sheridan now.
Shawn.
With his,
All
with
right.
his
Sean-
underrated.
Sean's going to break our hearts.
Well, no, okay, this is a film that took a while for me to see. You know, it was kind of big, giant film that came out, lots of bad press, and it kind of got hit upon a lot. By no means a perfect film, but having finally seen it after all the hoopla about it, I'm like, okay, this is not that bad. There's some good things about it.
The Last Jedi.
No,
Good.
no.
Save it. Save it.
This is Justice League.
Yeah.
Wait, as underrated. As,
Okay, no, listen.
Wait, as
I-
underrated.
Slightly underrated.
Yes.
Okay.
The movie was just taken through the ringer. I mean, and here's the thing about the movie.
Creatively, too.
Yeah. I mean, look, I went and watched it with really low expectations. You know, my wife and I in her living room watching it, and it's first of all, it's much better than Batman versus Superman.
That I'll
Say
give you.
Say
I'll
that
give you
right
that.
off the bat.
Sure.
And for the most part, all the superhero action stuff is really good. It's not too confusing and too kind of like, frenetic, unlike Batman versus Superman, which is just a slog.
And I would say it's
It is
twice as
slog.
good as Man of Steel.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't like
Yes.
Man of Steel either. I didn't like Man of Steel either.
Yeah. I'm just saying that like they do kind of follow the Marvel Cinematic Universe formula. Maybe
Sure.
too much. It's like they're
trying
really
to catch
trying
up.
hard.
Yep.
But there's still a lot of good stuff in it. There's some thrilling action sequences. This is what's fascinating to me is like all this money, all these big studios, still to this day, one studio will just blatantly try to copy the success of another franchise. I mean,
Sure.
the reason the first Avengers movie worked is, I mean, it's a great movie, but they had already done individual movies of all the superhero characters.
Phase
except for
one.
Black Widow,
Yeah.
but she appeared in other movies. So, so in Warner Brothers' haste to, we have to do now our Avengers,
Yeah.
they make Justice League, but there hasn't been an Aquaman film yet,
Yeah.
or a Cyborg film,
Right.
yet, or a Flash. So of
Yeah.
course you're shortchanging those characters. You know, they had to kind of rush to kind of do the little kind of intros and then get to the action. It suffers a bit for that.
And I heard that Aquaman, who is actually a pretty good character,
Yeah, he's
doesn't
cool.
really have all that much.
Well, neither. I mean, none of them really do. I mean, Wonder Woman comes across great because she's had a movie and she's good in it. But nobody. There's nothing super terribly embarrassing in the movie to me. The one thing that is a big problem is the villain, Steppenwolf.
Oh, yeah.
Well, first of all, it's the most
Forgettable.
cliched,
Yeah.
cardboard, one-dimensional supervillain where like every line he utters is the most cliched, supervillain line.
You don't know what we can find.
Why don't you come with me, little girl? On
That would have
magic
been
carpet
that would have been
ride.
cooler if they had him. Yeah. But
There was a
but
band
also,
called Steppenwolf. Right?
Oh.
Yeah, for you younglings out there.
Yeah.
But on top of that, they decided to make the main villain completely CGI, and talk about bad CGI. They're fighting a character out of a PlayStation game. It's that bad. I mean, it's like at least why not have a guy in makeup? Why not have it really detracts. Like that's the weakest thing about the movie is the villain is just who cares? His plot to dominate the world is like who cares? But like it's a shame because I liked some of the stuff between the superheroes. I liked most of the fight scenes. The scene on Diana Prince's island when you're going after the bad guy is really cool, and Superman is treated much better in this movie. He's it's cool because when he's revived.
Is this the mustache one?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
That's another thing where if you know that going in, yes, there are several shots where like, what's wrong with his face? Because Henry Cavill was doing another movie, I think Mission Impossible, one of the Mission Impossible movies, and he had a mustache. But he had to film more Superman stuff, so he didn't want to shave the mustache.
That's
so
so ridiculous.
They literally painted out his mustache
I thought it was
in
the
every
studio.
shot.
I thought it was the studio wouldn't
Probably.
allow it.
Yeah. So
It's not like Henry said, "Oh, I don't want to shave
right.
off my mustache." I think
So-
he would have done it, but they
Right.
said, "No, you can't shave off that mustache."
right. So they had to digitally paint out his
They
mustache
should
in
just
every
have
shot.
painted it flesh tone, like
yeah, like the
like Cesar
Joker.
Romero?
Yeah, right.
From the Joker.
But again, I just think. I mean, like, yeah, I had pretty low expectations, but I just don't. It's not an embarrassing train wreck.
You know what?
of a movie.
It's a mess, but it's not a disaster. It's not a
okay.
disaster.
It's
haven't
not a
seen
disaster
this,
like
but I
a
think I will.
Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is a freaking
That is a
mess.
mess.
And that's an annoying mess.
I wanted
Yeah.
to commit suicide after.
Yeah,
no, it's terrible.
But Scott, what do you think? I mean, like,
All right, here I agree with everything you said about Justice League. The biggest problem with Justice League is this: it's 10 years too late. If Justice League came out in 2007 instead of 2017, it would have been more embraced.
Yeah.
It just was that DC, unfortunately, with the exception of Wonder Woman, where that was part of a movement.
yes, yeah.
yeah.
Although it became part of a movement, it wasn't intended that way. But Justice League, it just after you've seen all these other superhero movies,
Right.
after you've seen Phase 1 into the Avengers and Phase 2 into Avengers: Age of Ultron, everything about it just felt very conventional.
Yeah.
Justice League is a perfectly fine superhero movie. The ensemble works great. There is good chemistry. It's a little dark, but not too dark.
Right.
It works just fine. It just felt in the shadow of all these other superhero movies.
Right.
I felt like been there, done that.
Well,
It
the
did
scene-
not
Interesting.
feel special.
The scene where Bruce Wayne goes to see Barry Allen because he knows he's the Flash is literally beat for beat exactly
Spider-Man
like the scene in Civil War when Stark goes to see Peter Parker and he knows he's Spider-Man. I mean, it is
right.
exactly.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like that's the problem. It's like
It always feels like they're just trying to play catch up.
yeah, and that's a shame because like I mean, there's good stuff. I like like I said, there's some cool design in the film and like. I don't know. It's just a shame. It's like
almost like they're trying to play what did the big tomato say to the little tomato?
yeah.
Yeah, ketchup.
Write that down, James.
But I would say, like, for those of thinking, like, oh, I don't want to bother saying, check it out. It's not
Okay,
that terrible. Like,
because
go in,
because I
yeah.
think that the sad thing is from the
I'll see
very from the very beginning. I think there were the rumors. It reminds me of. Do you remember like Waterworld? All the talk about Waterworld. Oh, it's costing all this money. It's not going to be good, and it kind of hurt the film. The film isn't bad.
I saw it again, actually, and really enjoyed it.
It's like it's one of those things. I
Right,
went to see
right.
and go, well, it wasn't that. Okay, it's expensive. I get it, but
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it. I had fun,
And
and
there
I
was.
think
There was
like, Justice
massive-
League. There was a lot of
There was
this.
massive surgery done in the film, and all of with whatever Josh Whedon did and whatever Zack Snyder did, like, all mixed together. You don't know, but like, who knows? I mean, maybe there's another cut too.
Well, but we did an episode with John Schnepp about the films that never were, and he goes into a lot of detail about we may never see this cut,
Right.
and I understand why.
But again, like James said, I'll take Justice League any day over Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, or Batman vs Superman.
It also benefits from a Danny Elfman score that does reference, it throws in some little
It
in-jokes.
does.
The original Danny Elfman Batman theme,
And
the John
Superman.
Williams Superman theme.
Which is kind of nice,
It's
subtly
awesome.
though.
And of course, the
Yeah.
Wonder Woman theme keeps coming
Yeah,
back. But,
yeah.
but it's, it's like, hey, you throw a bone to the fans, to the older fans.
Yeah,
who
now,
remember that.
I've heard. I guess they are making an Aquaman film.
Oh, yeah,
it's like that should
right.
have been first, but like
Yeah, it
now
should
they're
have been
making it. So,
first.
but like so again, it's just interesting that like they just have to get out of the shadow of Marvel.
Listen, what Marvel has done. I mean,
It's
here's
a monumental feat.
unprecedented. I mean,
Unprecedented.
Like we're not enough people in the business, outside of the business, are really taking in just how unprecedented Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, what they've done
Oh my God.
because they're based on comic book characters. I mean, and they're so commercial. They're not art. They're just movies.
But as a franchise-
think about it. Think about what all started.
But
in
they
May.
are art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, they are in their own right. But what started in May of 2008 with the first Iron Man, at the end of that film, that bonus scene where Samuel Jackson,
Yeah.
says, "We want you to enjoy the Avengers Initiative," and that started the ball rolling on Captain America, Thor, and then you got the Incredible Hulk in Phase 1, Avengers, and then you got the Phase 2, and then you bring out Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, and now it's
You're creating
precedent.
Yeah, you're creating a sense of excitement. You're building on that excitement. And what is great is that you do one movie and you show, look, we can do this. We can pull this off. We are going to get people working on this movie who like the material and are going to treat this with respect, and we're going to tell a good story, and we're going to marry the special effects to it, and you're going to love it. And then at the end, you thought you liked that.
Yeah.
Right. It's for the fans.
You build it. You build it, and you keep building it.
The other problem, and I think with the problem that in most cases has been avoided miraculously, is this. So we were talking about Superman. Those first Superman movies, they came and they went. And then you had the Phase 1 Batman movies. They came and they went. But starting with Blade in 1998, and definitely with the first X-Men in 2000, what you basically have is a modern superhero movement that has not only sustained itself for the last 18 years or 20 years now, but has evolved. You had the X-Men films, then that led into the Spider-Man movies, then the Dark Knight movies, and then, of course, the Marvel MCU. And last year alone, 2017, you had, do you know how many freaking comic book movies, how many superhero movies? 6. You had Logan.
Yeah.
You had Captain America Civil War. Right? Then you had Spider-Man Homecoming. You had Wonder Woman. You had Justice League, and you had Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And Thor Ragnarok was awesome. And it came out 2 weeks before Justice League. Thor Ragnarok saved that franchise because the other Thor movies were not very good.
I would disagree.
I
totally disagree.
I like the second one.
I don't like the
no.
second one.
I think Dark World is great.
That's
it's so boring.
That's
It's not
underrated.
boring.
That's
Matt
underrated to me.
Weinhold,
It's
come
not
on.
boring.
Well,
Thor Dark World is like, imagine sort of Lord of the Rings, but with action and excitement and fun. And you've got the the brother relationship
I loved
that's
it.
wonderful.
I loved it. And
I love that movie, and that movie does not talk about underrated.
Yeah.
That movie does not get its worth. It's a great movie, and I think that's the people that don't like that movie really just don't like Thor.
Yes.
You don't like Thor.
Yeah, or they don't
if you don't like Thor, I understand.
Or they don't really like comics. That's what I think.
Yeah, you don't like
that's
fantastical worlds.
Yeah,
I don't like movies.
You don't like joy.
I don't like life.
You don't like kids.
I just don't
You don't
like
like
life.
America.
I
don't like oxygen.
And Scott, this is great. This is wonderful.
I think I'm talking. This is my segment now, right?
Go.
Yeah. All right. What do you want to say?
Well, I wanted to say that this was great, but I wanted to get to what you're underrated.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
And I know you weren't going to say.
I wasn't going to say Thor Dark World, but it is on my list.
Okay.
But if we're talking superheroes,
Yes.
I'm going to keep it. I had something else I was
right.
going to talk about,
Okay.
but let's talk about this.
Okay.
So before Thor Dark World and
Yeah.
Captain America and everything else,
Underrated. Talking about underrated.
underrated movie, The Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
Yes.
With
Edward Norton.
With Edward
Oh
Norton.
yeah, I like that one a lot.
I think it's a Norton. Are you becoming the Hulk?
Ralphie, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
you know what? Yes. I wasn't, but
To the moon, Norton. Oh no.
How would you like to fuck me in the ass?
What was it? Which bit was that? Is that Eddie Murphy? That's Eddie Murphy. That's Eddie Murphy.
Matt, I wasn't as big a fan. Look, I was a fan of the Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby, Incredible Hulk on TV, and so I was
Really?
excited.
So,
yes.
so that was the pinnacle.
Hey,
Edward Norton.
That's a good show. Though.
I was
like
making
that
a
show.
comment. You just cut me off. I'm
Okay,
just
go
saying
ahead,
I
go
was a
ahead.
fan of the TV
Go
series,
ahead.
and I was waiting for that big, great movie of the Hulk, and then we got the Hulk with
No, that one's
Banner.
terrible.
Yeah,
that
was bad.
That was horrible.
At first, I thought you were going to say that was underrated.
No.
God, no. And I'm saying
Mutant
I was
Poodles?
talking
No way.
about you were talking about slow, and I was like really disappointed. But the one that you're talking about with Edward Norton,
That's a
man,
good
I
one.
really got into that.
That is what's great about that movie. It's the build-up is just as exciting as when the Hulk shows up.
Yeah.
The getting into the character of Bruce Banner. Edward Norton does such a great job, and I know I've heard all the stories. I know that he's a pain in the ass to work with, but when you see it on screen, he's wonderful.
Yeah,
There's
he's
that
good.
scene where he's got the guy that he's hired to kick his ass so he can control his anger. It's such a great scene.
Yeah.
And there's scenes like that all the way through the movie. Now, yes, I know that people have argued that towards the end it gets to be a little bit of a CGI battle fest.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know what? There's so much good stuff in that movie.
Yeah.
And I would also argue that, and I know that they couldn't get Edward Norton to be in the Avengers movies. He's a pain in the ass.
Right.
But can you imagine if they did?
Right.
That
Actually
would
want
have
him
been
to?
awesome.
Yeah, but I love Ruffalo.
I
think
do-
Ruffalo's
he- no,
awesome.
I do too, James.
Mark Ruffalo is fine.
I think he's better than fine. I like
Okay,
him a lot.
well, he's not better than Edward Norton.
I disagree.
Edward Norton is what would
Academy
be great,
Award nominee.
What would be great about the Avengers movies is that my problem with the Marvel franchise right now is it's getting dangerously close to everything is funny. And that was my one major criticism with Ragnarok is that they were hitting that humor button a little
Yeah, it was a little
often.
wacky at times. Yeah.
And the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Just getting too goofy. And now and then to even have Mark Ruffalo be kind of a Ruffalo Hulk in that, I was like, yeah. What would be great is to have him be this straight character and have the Hulk be the
more-
blossoming personality. But
Right,
when you
right.
go back to Bruce Banner, it's Edward Norton playing it serious. And
Yeah.
I would
Right.
love to see that version rather than everything.
interesting.
And I like Mark Ruffalo, but I don't think he's in the same class as Edward Norton.
It would have been different. That's for
It
sure.
would have been
yeah.
different,
Yeah.
yes.
One thing about those two Hulk movies that we had, the 2003 movie directed by Ang Lee was inspired by the comic book origins. The 2008 movie with Edward Norton was inspired by the Bill Bixby TV series.
Right, in the credit sequence,
Even the
they kinda
credits,
do
yeah.
it.
Which is a
Even-
brilliant way to
Yeah.
do the origin without wasting everybody's time.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
I thought that was a really smart move. I'm with you. I think it's a very good film, underrated, and it came out I think like a month after Iron Man.
Yeah, and
Really?
I think that it
Wow.
was
Yeah.
it was just overshadowed by
Yeah,
Iron Man.
yeah.
Right, it
Which,
Yeah.
which Iron Man I actually feel is overrated.
The original Iron
Oh
Man?
no!
The
no,
first
no,
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 no, but wait a minute. The first Iron Man I really like, but there's a lot of really stupid stuff in that movie that is like
Like
the
what?
whole beginning of
Who
it.
are you?
How
Stupid.
Okay,
first
so
Iron Man
so
movie
the
is great.
first Iron Man in movie, he has been captured by a bunch of extremists.
Yeah.
And he's in this cave.
Yeah.
And they've got cameras, and he secretly makes a fucking robot suit.
Well, they don't know what he's making, man.
Yes,
He's a
they
genius.
do.
No, they don't.
No,
No,
it's-
they don't.
it's-
No,
it's
he's a genius.
ridiculous.
He's a genius.
He was
you
really
can, so you
sneaky
can
about
watch
it.
a genius go make something. Go,
How about-
I know
how
what he's
about
making.
walking in
He's
there-
making a
how-
bomb, or
the-
he's making a robot because I know.
the minute you look in the camera and you go, gee, that helmet kind of looks like a face. I wonder if he's making something that we didn't tell him to make. And then you walk in there and you go, hey, what are you making? Oh, nothing. Well, let me look at it. Hey, that looks like a robot suit. Done.
Okay. See, no. It doesn't work that way.
Was that the only scene
no.
you had a problem with?
Yeah, I was going to say, is that really enough to ruin the movie?
And you think that's
wait a minute.
stupid?
No. Wait a minute. I didn't say ruin. I didn't
He
say
said stupid.
I didn't.
You said
that,
call me stupid.
That scene. I'm not saying that I didn't like the movie because I do like the movie. Overrated. Like it.
Thank
I like
I think
Okay.
we are going into our overrated section.
Overrated.
Yes,
Is
but
that-
I like that.
I do like that movie.
See, I
Okay.
totally disagree
Overall,
with you.
I like it.
I'm with you.
what?
Iron Man-
What?
Iron-
Overrated?
No.
Dude.
Hulk. Incredible
We
Hulk.
can agree on Hulk.
You know, I'm
I-
really curious now, but like you said about the Marvel franchise, kind of going into like the too silly kind of stuff. I'm really hoping Infinity War doesn't get like
I would
that.
like
That should be a little more serious.
Yes.
a little more. You know, I just hope they do that right. Like, just so much riding.
I
on
haven't
that.
seen
As
it.
much
what
as
else
I
I-
like the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think they might have poisoned the Kool-Aid
I
a
did
little
not
bit.
like the second movie. I
No.
thought it
Really,
was-
really.
No, I enjoyed
I
it, but
liked
I
it.
didn't.
I enjoyed it,
didn't
not
know-
nearly
I
as
did
much as the
not
first
love it.
one.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2,
Yeah.
Iron Man 2, Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Oh, that one's horrible.
They're bloated, inferior sequels.
Well, I agree that they're inferior to the first ones, but I still enjoy
I did
all
like
those movies.
Iron Man 2.
I didn't really enjoy Guardians 2. I liked Iron Man 2 just fine, and Avengers.
But Ultron,
no.
Ultron, like with Ultron, isn't there a place in that movie where there's all those Ultrons attacking, and you just tune out because
Right.
it's just
Like,
like
you get battle fatigue.
yeah, you get battle fatigue, and it's
Yep.
like I've been over CGI'd,
Yep.
and my brain has been wiped.
Well, you know what? I hope they get right. Being sort of Marvel related because it's not in the MCU, at least not yet, but it might be now that Disney bought Fox.
Yeah.
I hope they get Deadpool 2 right.
Yeah,
It'll
I
be
know.
Because
interesting.
that
I-
first Deadpool was amazing.
No, that one's
I
that
agree
one's
that-
perfectly rated.
But you know what though? But that movie though, like I agree because I really enjoyed that movie, but you can only do that kind of like you can like you
How
can
do you do that? How do you build
that
on that?
style and that approach can
Yep.
over where it's welcome quickly, and if they go too much with it, it's going to be a turnoff. Like I don't know.
It was also a surprise. No one expected
Exactly,
Deadpool to be
exactly.
as it was.
But I would also say that if you know, like, the world that Deadpool creates is very unique, and you kind of buy into it, and so all the jokes fit because that's
Right.
the character.
But will
And
that
so
be as relevant late to do it again?
if the jokes are still good,
Yeah,
if they're not
yeah.
just hitting that same note but without the cleverness, without the wit,
right.
then that would be a problem. And then you also need a story in there. And if the story is
Yeah.
good, because that's what I would also argue is that, underlying all the humor, there was a really fun, humane story.
Well,
there.
I would say more than that. I would say that what impressed me the most about Deadpool actually was the dark aspects in that movie. There's some super dark, twisted stuff, and that I really liked. And I'm kind of glad they went there. I mean, because you had all the silly talking to the camera stuff. That's great. But like, there's some dark stuff too, which was good.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's different going into a Deadpool movie than going into a movie where you expect it to be treated with a little bit of sober drama,
yeah.
and then having humor shoehorned in.
Right.
Okay, so I
right.
understand that you're nervous, but I have a little faith. I
am nervous.
I
Calm
think
down.
they're going to.
When I get close to you,
I think they're going to do a great job, but I do think you have touched on some overrated stuff. So
Yes,
maybe
thank
we
you.
could,
Are you? That's that's Larry's way of saying I'm
Move
done
on.
listening to you.
No. Scott,
Scott,
because I know
give
he's
us
just
an overrated.
chomping at the bit here. Because I know we've had a little discussion earlier on, and I'm curious about throw us what you think might be an overrated.
Overrated, without question. The most overrated movie in the history of movies, Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Oh, you'll get no argument from me.
I
Is-
just
argue.
I
no.
Last
Should I
Jedi.
should I take something else because I can top that.
no, I agree. No. My question is it really over? I mean, a lot of people are
not
loving
only is
it.
it overrated, it's just not good.
Well,
It's awful.
I agree.
You know
It's
what?
awful. I totally agree.
You know,
It's
I don't know if it's
awful, but
awful.
There's some
It's
awful
awful.
elements in it.
Say it, though.
I would say it's kind of mostly awful, but there are some
There's some-
pockets of great
Yeah,
scenes.
there are.
Okay, sure.
Mark,
There-
like
there
we
are
were
a
saying,
couple of
Mark
great
Hamill's great in it.
I would
think
say
Mark
this.
Hamill's great.
Mark Hamill saves the movie. He is so good, like way better than I ever imagined. And I should have expected that he would be great because, you forget all the voiceover stuff that he's been doing over the years. He
he's
is the
fantastic.
definitive Joker. So he's wonderful. And with that movie, I would say that the human parts, just the very subtle person talking to person scenes worked the best in that movie. Every time they got into action, I just tuned out.
Well, you did. There's a really cool battle sequence in there. It's when Rey and she's fighting with the red stormtrooper guys.
Yeah, Kylo Ren and
was
Ray.
okay.
I thought the Kylo Ren
fine.
and Ray
Okay.
stuff was good, actually.
But getting back to what Scott said, overrated. Yeah, I mean,
overrated
look,
because
and understand too that when you and I, when we saw Star Wars, original
Yeah.
Star Wars in
was
'77,
just Star Wars.
and people
Changed
forget
our-
about
changed
that.
our lives.
Yeah, it really was. So there are people today who are now our age back in '77 who are seeing this, and they're part of the whole Star Wars universe, and they're all excited about it, and maybe they don't know any better. But I look at it, and like you, I'm thinking.
There were groan-inducing moments in that movie.
Yeah.
It's the first 10 minutes of it is the lamest comedy routine.
Okay, first, guys, when Ray gives Luke the lightsaber, and he takes it, he tosses it over his shoulder.
That made me angry.
That made me mad. Like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Luke, and
Well, no, that
Luke Skywalker
but that I
would-
like though because
I didn't mind
Oh
that.
no, I
they're
hate it.
throwing out the tropes that you expect with the
he
Star
would
Wars
never
movies.
have done
And he's-
that.
and he's
he would
fighting with this whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
guys, I think I think Luke would have been respectful of the history of
Not
the
if he's-
lightsaber.
not if he's a tired,
bitter,
cynical
yeah,
man.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
why do we want to see him be a tired, cynical, bitter old guy?
I like
Here's
that
why.
because
Here's why.
he's going to
Because-
build. He's going to come back.
But
he doesn't come back.
Here's
does
what
come back.
it
happens.
was a forced. To me, it was like a forced comical moment.
It was a forced comical moment that unfortunately set the stage for the tone of the rest of the movie.
Yes.
Which made it, in my opinion, the weakest of these last three
it's-
Star Wars.
no,
I agree.
movies.
I agree. It's-
Which I got to tell you, between Force Awakens, Rogue One, and Last Jedi, Rogue One is the fucking best of the bunch.
I agree.
I love Rogue One.
it's interesting because like I've gone back and appreciated Rogue.
underrated.
Rogue. I think I agree with you. I've gone back and appreciated that movie more, but I still like Force Awakens.
It's a better.
lot.
I would say that
You know.
Rogue One has the best plot of all of them. The character development in Rogue One is laughable. Like it's. So I don't give a shit about anybody except maybe what's her face, the main girl,
Ray?
Ray,
Finn?
Finn, or
Jen?
I forget all those names.
Jan.
They all kind of like,
Yeah.
wait,
But here,
The story is good, but like everybody is just wafer thin when it comes to characterization.
I agree.
Yeah, that's
but
true,
Can I?
but-
But can I just say, if we're talking about Star Wars, I'm going to up the ante here.
up the ante.
Because
Whoa.
If you say that movie is overrated, I see you and raise you that the entire Star Wars franchise is overrated.
dun, dun, dun.
I am not going to argue.
Thank you.
I am not going to argue.
Yeah, but is it overrated
There
because of
are-
movies like The Last
fellas.
Jedi, which bring it down?
No, it's overrated
that
because
contributes. Yes.
Matt, out of 9 movies,
Two of them are great.
were great.
I agree. Star Wars
of
and
them.
Empire.
Star Wars and
I
Empire.
agree with you.
I would
there.
say I would say
agree.
1.5.
I mean,
yeah.
Empire is the only great Star Wars movie that's so great that it actually transcends the franchise
Because it doesn't have an ending.
because it's just listen, it doesn't have an ending, but I'm okay
And
with
it's
that.
great. When you don't have a third act, you can make a
But
great movie.
it's done in the spirit. It's done in the spirit of the Flash Gordon serials. It's like, I
I
no
love
problem
the
with
hell
that.
out of Empire.
But
Strikes
I
Back.
agree. I love that movie.
I love it too. But my favorite Star Wars movie is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars is a great movie from beginning to end.
And it
has
stands
a,
alone.
It
if it has
stands
to,
alone.
We're talking about the first one,
if
which is
none of
also
the
called
other
New
ones are
Hope.
made,
It has
right.
the best.
For those who don't know.
It has
Yeah.
it has the moment when Han Solo shows up at the last minute to help Luke.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
It's rousing.
There's not another
Spoiler alert.
moment.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Star Wars, don't listen.
There's not another. Yeah, we don't want to spoil this. It takes place now in a galaxy very near to us.
Right.
Listen, I go ahead.
But I just like that moment when Han Solo comes back. There's no other moment in the rest of Star Wars that equals that.
Okay, in terms of being a rousing, uplifting, celebratory moment, I agree with you. But there is no moment, not only in the Star Wars series, but I would go out to say in movie history, a surprise, the twist. We're all okay.
Oh, yeah.
most
No,
of
I
us
agree.
are most
Yes.
of us are the
Yeah.
same age here.
Yeah.
Being 11 years old when I saw The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Spoiler
May
alert.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Okay.
Shut up.
I mean,
Hey, some people haven't seen.
We don't care about them. We're going to talk about it right
no,
now.
Yeah.
we
Me
care
and my
about
good
everyone
friend-
who listens to our show.
They haven't seen The Empire Strikes Back.
Me and my
They don't
friend-
know how to work the internet.
Yeah.
So
my childhood friend, his name is Andrew Berg. We rode our bikes to the mall to see the film. It was in the Twin Theater, and we were taking turns to go into the arcade because you had to wait out in line for 8 hours.
Right. That's a good idea.
And when you get to that moment, if Star Wars was a universal battle between good and evil,
Yes.
or a galaxy-wide battle between good and evil, Empire, the shit got real. It got personal.
Yes.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
he says, I mean, I don't care how many times I've seen that movie, when he gets to the point where he says, no, I am your father, I just fight the hair on my arms.
No, it's great. It's great.
It
It's
just,
great.
you still just go, wow,
Yeah.
bravo,
And-
bravo,
And
bravo.
I would also give Empire a very big round of applause for being able to make a Muppet moving.
yeah.
Yes,
because
I
all
agree.
those Yoda scenes are. I mean, I'm really
Practical.
drawn
Totally,
in. I'm
but yeah,
not
yeah.
watching a puppet. When he goes on, I'm not afraid. You will be.
You know who brings that puppet to life? Not just Frank Oz, Mark Hamill. Because Mark Hamill's
You're right.
commitment.
Absolutely. You don't for a second.
If
You,
he
you-
did not
yeah.
sell that.
Right.
You're right.
By the way, talk about a great performance, an underrated performance. Mark Hamill in The Empire Strikes Back. His scenes on
terrific.
Dagobah.
He goes
his
through hell
co-star
in
is
that
a
movie.
fucking puppet.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
he sells it. He
Well,
sells
I
it.
agree.
Scott, I've
Yes.
trod the boards quite a bit in my past, and acting is reacting, and that is what Mark Hamill does.
There
He
you go.
reacts, and
And did very well.
You are absolutely correct. He brings that puppet to life because he takes it seriously.
Yep.
And no, that's a wonderful movie. I wish it had an ending, but I still
It
love
did have an ending. It just was a depressing
As a
one.
cliff- yeah, as a
It
cliffhanger,
has
yeah.
no third act.
You know-
but that's fine because I did enjoy that, and I just wish that Jedi would have been the third act that we were all hoping.
You know, it's funny,
Right,
Matt.
right.
I was
Yeah,
so ready to just attack you and say you are
let
so.
that stop you.
But Scott brought up a really good point, and when you said out of 9 films. And I'm thinking
It's
about
true.
I'm thinking about. Look, I am a fan of Star Wars, and I like the films very much, and I've enjoyed the good with the bad, and some of the bad I've been really upset about and stuff. But I felt like the film, in a way, I felt like the film kind of belonged to me. I had that kind of feel. Yeah, the series.
Yeah.
The
And
movie-
so I've been
the movies
rooting for it the whole
transcend,
time.
you know.
Yeah, but Matt, the more I think about it, you are right. It hurts for me to say it's overrated.
I mean, think about it. It's like there's so little in that's good.
The first two. It was so magical, and it was at a very special point in my life. And I know that I have friends who have kids, who are going through their Star Wars moments now. And look, Scott, I don't know. But dude, you say that, but when you talk to these kids who are like 9, 10, 11, and 12, they don't know any better. You know what I mean?
don't.
I'm
They
just
don't.
hear me out.
Yeah.
They're what is their first film? They don't see them in the order that we saw them.
Right.
They're seeing episode. They're seeing Phantom Menace first.
But as much as
I'm just saying. But it's like I remember Lucas. I was so pissed off when he made a comment about people were like criticizing him for Phantom Menace, and he goes, "Well, I didn't make it for." Adults. This is for kids, like
Luke?
between the ages of 5 and 7 or something. I remember like, no, that's not what you. That was an excuse, and it made me really mad. And it also made me feel like this is you just shitting on this creation.
Yep.
And it wasn't. And everyone says, "Oh, George Lucas is this brilliant dude." Look, he had a lot of help too with that first film. Okay,
That's
there was
very
a
true.
lot.
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
A 5-year-old, I can understand liking those movies. A
Yeah.
5-year-old also enjoys a Jack in the Box or
I like
that little thing that
Sure.
you hitting wooden blocks
Well,
out of a
I like that
wooden
too.
bench.
But,
Yeah,
but
no, I
getting-
still do it.
But
I'm not saying.
But getting
you
back,
know.
I getting back to what you said, your big moment.
It's an
of saying-
epiphany.
It is, and it
Yeah.
hurts me to say it. I am gonna go see the next Star Wars film,
Oh,
and
I will
probably the
too.
next one
Sure.
after that.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes when you look at something as being overrated, it's also based on your expectations. And in hindsight, now my expectations for the Phantom Menace, now I'll go on a limb and I'll say the Phantom Menace I can somehow deal with better than the Last Jedi. Last Jedi disappointed me that much.
Really?
I was
Yeah.
pissed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was,
Oh, no.
I'm not
I
gonna.
was fucking pissed at
Yeah.
Last Jedi.
Well, tell me-
'cause
tell
I'm
me
not
what,
going to
like
jump
what?
on you
I
for
want-
Phantom Menace, but I need to know.
Like, what specifically?
There's nothing. Last Jedi compared to Jar Jar. I mean, I know everyone's jumping on Jar Jar. Like that's I can't.
Phantom
that's-
Menace is painful. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the things that they did in Last Jedi was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, like,
You know
mean
how, like in
now?
Cuba, they had those like sound waves that put all these people out of commission
Yeah.
at the embassies.
Yeah. Yes.
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 That's what Jar Jar is to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but by now they should have learned the lessons from that.
You would
and,
think,
and not
yeah.
made.
And this is a
some-
new bunch too.
yes,
Yeah.
and not made some basic logic problem decisions. Like,
Yeah.
okay, Laura Dern
Oh
is
my
gonna
God, Laura Dern.
Dern's gonna take one for the team, and she's gonna be
Well,
the
who is she?
kamikaze.
Who is her character?
Okay, well,
Right, exactly.
given all that, she's got
Who
blue
was her
hair, whatever.
character?
But here's my thing. I have a theory
Why that hair?
I have a theory that in one of the many drafts of that movie, originally it was going to be Princess Leia who stayed behind and sacrificed herself. That at least seems more logical.
But
story-wise.
good theory.
But who's Laura Dern? Like, where did she come
I'll
from?
buy it.
No matter who stays
fiction?
behind, no matter who stays behind and makes the sacrifice, don't you think it would have occurred to them to make the sacrifice before they lost
I
half the
agree.
fucking rebel
I
fleet?
agree. That's
like you
terrible.
you already know that by
yeah.
staying on the empty ship,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you're dead meat.
No, I agree.
Why not
I
just
agree.
fly into the enemy?
No.
Yeah.
it's like,
Wait a
what the
minute.
fuck?
Wait a minute. Okay, so and then you get to the end of the film, and then all the AT-AT ripoffs are firing all their lasers on the
Sure.
Yeah, I
on,
didn't mind
on
that.
Luke. Okay,
I thought it was kind of cool.
But okay, so then he stops firing, and
Yeah.
guy
Spoiler alert,
he
spoiler
goes-
alert.
He says, "Do you think you got him?" And then he just sort of like brushes his shoulder, the
Yeah.
dust off his
I
shoulder.
love that though.
But what was the purpose of that scene?
Well,
what was
Well,
really the
no,
purpose of that
he was
scene?
distracting
He was
them,
distracting.
keeping
He was-
them busy
he was-
so the other people could escape.
Yeah, they could escape.
That,
He was
that
just-
I have no
yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I don't have problems
all the
with
stuff
that.
with Luke. I have no problems with. I have problems with Mary Poppins Leia, who's
Yeah.
floating in space. That is horrendous.
That was a horrible.
That was just
scene.
terrible. I have a problem with the space cattle. The whole sequence on the Vegas
Oh,
planet.
that was
that's
that-
horrible.
That's like a bad episode of Battlestar Galactica. Yeah.
Well, no, you know what it was though. Somebody pointed out that whole sequence felt like
It was Caroline. Yeah. Right? the casino on Caroline.
Yes, yeah.
But that-
We're the Ovions.
Yeah, yeah.
That whole sequence felt
Set fire to the Tilium. Blow up the planet. Wait for all franchise.
It's like one of those.
Okay.
It's one of those scenes where you hope the bad guys win.
yeah.
All right.
But
Let's
that
have
whole-
Sean.
that
Let's have
whole-
Sean talk
whole
here.
Las
Come on.
Vegas,
Go ahead,
that
go
whole Las Vegas sequence felt like it belonged in one of the prequels. It was that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you expected Jar Jar to show up in that scene.
Yes, and to
Yes.
That whole thing, and they didn't know what to do with Finn. I really, I really liked him. I really liked him in
Yeah,
Force Awakens. He had nothing to do.
Yeah, his
It's
character
like-
was wasted in
Yeah.
Last Jedi. Absolutely
it's a
was.
shame.
And whether or not a Star Wars movie has a satisfying ending or conclusion, to end The Last Jedi the way that they did with the kid from that planet.
Okay, but here's the thing about that. The one thing I do appreciate, and this is what some I think supporters of the movie are saying, I kind of like this idea, and that is that all the movies up till now, the whole thing about who's the father of who, and you're the brother and the sister, they said fuck all that.
Yeah.
It's like everybody has the potential to have the Force. That
Agreed.
I didn't mind.
No,
I didn't mind.
that actually fixed something that they
that's-
screwed up with in
Yeah, with the
Phantom Menace.
midichlorians and all that
It was
fucking shit.
ridiculous.
So
Yeah,
that I did not mind at all.
I'm with
All the
you.
other shit I have big problems with.
But to have like the farm urchin from the Vegas planet conclude the movie by holding up the rebel symbol, it's
I
like,
don't know, that's the least of the problems in the movie for me. Like
No, there were a lot of other problems,
like
but that
wasting
one
the
was like-
characters.
Yeah,
you know,
I didn't. Yeah,
I mean,
I'm with you.
And the whole thing with Luke too. I mean, he's okay. I guess he's an astral projection, and that's why.
Look, that I just go with that.
Does
I mean,
he-
he used all his energy to do that, and then he dies at the end. I mean,
he
that's
does die. Like, because I was confused.
vanishes.
He does die. Does he die?
Well, it becomes a ghost.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I
just-
don't-
No.
I wasn't-
Getting
I was
back
confused.
to in the very first one where Ben Kenobi, it looks like he's being sliced and he vanishes.
Right.
It's the same type
Yeah,
of
so
thing.
But he is-
ceases
But
to
there was
exist.
just
he
like,
becomes
physically
there was
dead?
part
something that was anticlimactic when he did that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
when-
not
I
gonna.
didn't
When
get
Ben did it, it was shocking.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not
Right,
gonna.
right.
I'm
When
not
Luke
gonna-
just sort of disappeared, it was like,
Yes.
oh, okay.
and I
Yes.
wasn't ready for him to just die like that. I wanted
I
more.
expected
It's like-
him to be in the next.
Yeah,
I
film,
wanted to
maybe
see.
he was.
I wanted to see him burst.
Yeah.
And a rainbow.
I wanted to see the Vipers like firing on the silent base star before Caroline
I
exploded.
wanted to see people picking Mark Hamill out of their teeth.
And if the entire future of the rebellion is hiding in a cave that you can just get into by some rocks in the back,
Wait. And they all get into the Millennium Falcon, so that's it? That's what's left of the rebellion?
Yeah.
They all fit in the Falcon?
Yes, I don't know.
And by the way, here's the thing. The Millennium Falcon in A New Hope, the original Star Wars, and The Empire Strikes Back, the Falcon felt like a character.
Yes.
Like, especially in Empire.
Yeah,
The way it kept
yeah.
breaking down. It was unreliable. It wouldn't go the light speed. Would it help if I get out and pushed? It
Right.
might. The Falcon felt like a character.
Right.
After Empire Strikes Back, and Jedi, and definitely in this new series, it's just a ship. There's no meaning behind
I
it.
agree.
Yeah.
Right.
Like when Luke saw the Falcon, I mean, he saw
a piece of junk.
You know, that's still a piece of junk. I mean, when he saw R2D2, like there should have been like some like, oh, old friend. You know, it really didn't have.
R2D2 also got shortchanged, I thought, too, in the movie.
There's too many R2D2s now.
Yeah.
BB-8.
So did C-3PO. They could have given him more to do.
And by the way, when it comes to the lightsabers, all the lightsaber battles, you know, you have the lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Vader in A New Hope, and then, you know, you have like tons and tons of lightsaber battles in the prequels and whatever, and then
I don't care anymore.
You don't care anymore because the only lightsaber battle that really meant anything, the greatest lightsaber battle of them all, was the one between Luke and Vader on Cloud City in Empire.
Yeah.
Because it kept going.
Yeah.
Luke wasn't ready to face him.
Yeah.
Luke was getting the shit kicked out of him,
Right.
and the fight kept going.
Remember,
it
he
kept
was
going.
all sweaty. He was all
It had
sweaty.
it had
awesome.
an emotional undercurrent behind it.
Absolutely,
It was
did.
not
Right,
just a bunch of sword fighting. It
And
was
Luke was like, I remember when I was a little kid and I was watching the first time I saw a commercial for Empire Strikes Back, it was actually during Saturday Night Live. And they showed a really, felt like a really long commercial. And I'll never forget the moment, well, I mean, I've seen it a million times now, but when Vader is holding his lightsaber into Luke's face, and Luke is sweaty, he's swollen,
his nose hasn't healed.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah, but no, like, he goes through. That's the thing. You're right about that. When you say it gets personal, I mean, Luke's kind of. Let's face it. Luke in the first movie is kind of this whiny
a pussy.
kid. I want to fight. I want to fight the Empire. But like, oh my God,
pick up some ties. There's a
like you
power
said,
converter.
Yeah.
He rises to the occasion.
Yeah, but like you said, like but the shit it really goes down in the second one. Like this is not kid stuff anymore for Luke. You
But
know,
you
it's
know
like
what? Listen, guys. This episode of Monster Party is a landmark.
that's right.
Not
we,
just
you
because
shit
you
all
have,
over Star
not only
Wars.
because you have MANTZ on it, but because we
no.
are calling out the
Third
truth.
person.
We are
It had to happen.
We are calling out the truth, which
It's
is
a painful
the
truth,
Star
but-
Wars series as a whole is overrated.
Now,
You're standing on the shoulders of giants with those first two movies, with Star Wars and Empire.
true, though. I
Those
mean,
first two movies,
yeah.
everything that came after that you're never going to.
surpass that.
It's like when you get high the first time and you keep trying to.
I was gonna say heroin, but that's me. You know.
So
You're always going after that monkey, but you can never
You're
quite.
never gonna quite. Yeah,
So the
yeah.
Star Wars-
It's like having an itch.
Okay.
You can never
All right.
scratch.
Yeah.
It's just so the
this
Star
is-
Wars films. They're just nothing compared to
Okay.
the Superman franchise.
like your-
Nothing
Okay.
compared to Star
Now-
Trek.
It's like
now,
your
Star
first
Trek-
blowjob.
There are more. The ratio of good Star Trek movies to bad Star Trek movies is much better than the ratio of good Star Wars to bad Star Wars.
I agree.
probably right.
I would say
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
But I
there's,
would-
there's also more Star Trek.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And in fairness, look, there's a lot of places where the whole Star Wars franchise can go. We've got a new Han Solo film coming out.
Yeah, maybe,
there's
you know-
talk of a Boba Fett. There's a bunch of other stuff, and I'm wondering.
They're going to make an IG-88 movie.
dude. See,
I'll go see that.
You know what?
Now,
There is a blue milk
Now,
miniseries.
listen. He laughs.
Where's
he
the yak
laughs
face
at that.
movie?
I'm saying, look, there are people that are just as passionate as we are
Wait a minute.
about Star Wars. Okay, look, and we're
Size
irritated.
Noodles gets her own movie.
Okay, that's very funny. That's terrific.
It's a mockumentary.
All right.
It's a rockumentary.
yeah. This is Spinal Tap.
The Sice Noodles band.
Sice Noodles.
Everything goes wrong.
All right, now that we've spent an hour saying that Star Wars is overrated.
After Jabba's Palace, man, it was just like one bad gig after another.
R5D4 gets his own movie.
Wait a minute.
He gets his motivator replaced.
Sky, why are we doing an army base?
You know, this is great, and we could say this for our Star Wars show when we do a dedicated.
We're not saving
I think we
shit.
just did our Star Wars
we
show
can do
right
it.
now.
Yeah, because this is our overrated, underrated. And I get it. I'm struggling with it. I agree, Matt. I think perhaps you are right. I'm optimistic though. I'm hopeful, and
Me too.
perhaps
No, it's
something
true.
will change.
I'm always, like
I
And
root
I'm
for
gonna-
everyone.
and
I'm always
I
going
really
to go
do.
see a Star
Now-
Wars film.
Maybe episode 9 they'll bring Lando back.
Now-
Well, they bring him back in the Solo movie.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, but not Billy D. Williams.
No, it's a young
no,
Lando.
I
They
want
bring back
Billy D.
Billy D. Williams, and he's in like a Christopher Pike cart. You know.
Okay. All right. That's very funny. Okay. So Matt, overrated Star Wars. Okay. So
Okay.
let's. So I want to
next?
go
James.
back. James, are we going to go back
Blow
to
our
you?
minds.
All
Let us
right.
know.
Gone with the Wind.
Overrated.
Overrated.
No, this isn't going to blow anybody's mind because
Not
I think
after
you guys
this.
are all going to agree.
Okay.
But like I said a minute ago, it's a lot of it's just based on your expectations, and sometimes expectations might be a little too high. Land of the Dead, George Romero. Now, nobody wants to shit on George Romero because he's awesome, he's wonderful, he's legendary, and he's dead.
He's passed away.
Yes. But
Shit on George Romero?
no, I do not want to shit on George Romero. But when I walked into Land of the Dead, I had certain expectations because this was a return to the genre he created.
Yes.
And it was in a genre that was important to me. And I was very disappointed, to say the least. I thought it was terrible.
It is terrible.
I did not think it was like I agree. It's the weakest. It's the weakest of all of them.
To say
But
the least. But I was in a like Tower Books or something, and I was reading some video magazine, and they were reviewing it, and they reviewed it based on its own merits. And I thought, okay, well, that's fair, but that's only a fraction of the way it should be reviewed because it's part of a bigger piece.
just as a movie experience.
Yeah,
It's not-
if
you
you're
didn't-
familiar with the first three, and the third one wasn't even as good as the first two, I would argue.
Third one,
But
Day of the Dead is underrated. I think.
Yeah, it gets better
It gets
to me
better
every
in
time I watch
time,
it.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It improves with time, and maybe in 20 years I'll like Land of the Dead.
No,
but-
you won't.
But I was so disappointed. I was pissed off reading this review because I thought, no, you're giving it way too much credit. This movie sucked. This was awful. In
It
my
was
book.
it was a bit all over the place. It didn't have the memorable characters that the other ones did.
They set
But-
up this Matador character who would like makes this big deal out of who he is, and then 5 seconds later he's dead. It's like, well, what the fuck did you bother to waste my time setting him up for?
Well, I did like though the way that the zombies evolved. They were starting to get smarter. You know, they started to
didn't like
organize a little bit. I think that's a logical place to go with it, though. After doing 3 movies, I mean, I think
Well,
that
and
was
there was
kind
the
of
whole
cool.
class structure thing.
Yeah,
with
but I thought that was cool.
It could have been developed, but he didn't bother. It was just like it was all just one note. And
Yes, I completely agree with you. And I would also argue that the zombie makeup, because they're trying to portray these zombies as getting more intelligent, what they did with, what was it, Big Boss, or what was the guy's name?
Yeah.
But like the main zombie,
Yeah.
he looks
Right.
too clean.
yeah.
And so it's not scary. It's this clean, like, oh, he's the leader, and I can tell he's smart because his shirt isn't as dirty as everybody else's.
Well, that was one of the great things about Day of the Dead is that these dead were not fresh. They've been dead for a while down in the hot Florida
And
sun.
the zombies are probably the best ever
I was
in
gonna say
that movie.
the best realization of the dead. You know, decaying flesh, walking corpses is best in that film because
100%.
as much as we love and look, Dawn of the Dead is a classic movie. That was a low budget movie, and some of the makeup in that movie was literally just green makeup on some of them. But you didn't care because it's a great movie.
Yeah.
But like that movie had limited zombie makeup.
But it had characters that you cared about.
course,
in a
yeah. I mean, it's
situation that you were
fantastic,
drawn
yeah.
But,
into.
and also, anytime John Leguizamo shows up, I'm always like, oh boy, this could go
Either
in
way.
a very
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
direction. Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of his. I agree.
I
do we-
never wanted to see Romero jump the shark, but at that point, there were probably movies before that he made that I haven't seen where he jumped the shark. But then I was like, oh god, it's
that's-
really over. And then the ones that he did after that, it was just
yeah,
okay.
those I agree. They were not as good.
Did you like his remake of Night of the Living Dead?
Did he
That
do
was
a remake? It was Savini.
Tom
directed
Savini.
it.
Tom Savini directed it.
Oh,
The-
Tom Savini directed
Yeah, that one's underrated. I think.
I think
that's
that
a
is
pretty
underrated.
With the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is a good movie.
That one's pretty
came out.
good. That was not bad.
I like the fact that they did some different things with characters.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah,
I like that
Barbara.
one.
The way that they treat Barbara in that one, I thought, hey, that's clever.
Yeah, she was kind of a badass.
Patricia
Kind of a badass,
Tallman.
yeah.
Patricia Tallman from
Babylon 5, yeah.
And you're right. Barbara's more like the kick-ass. Right. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I agree.
I enjoyed that. But yeah, man, this is insane. I completely agree with you, James.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Yes.
we have a first.
All right. Well,
All right, let's get ready to disagree with Larry. Go.
Because
What do you got?
everyone thinks they're going to disagree. Now, I am going to go out on a limb here.
Okay.
Because I am going to bring up a film that's done by a great director. You know, not every film that a great director makes is a great movie.
Correct.
Okay?
Look at Spielberg.
Sure.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You've liked every Spielberg movie.
no, I have not.
Okay,
Well,
that's all
then-
we're saying.
But I am not going to talk about Steven Spielberg.
Okay, great.
I am instead going to talk about Alfred Hitchcock.
Ooh.
And I know that there are some Hitchcock fans here, and I too am a big Hitchcock fan, but there was a film that was made in 1963 that I was not a big fan of, and that is The Birds. And the
Okay.
funny thing about The Birds, for people who are not familiar with it, if you have
Spoiler alert.
you have Tippi Hedren, Rod Taylor from Time Machine. And also a young Veronica Cartwright, who later on did Alien.
Jessica Tandy.
Jessica Tandy. But so you have this woman who goes to this to try and speed it up a little bit. This woman comes into this small town, kind of gets involved with this guy, and then all of a sudden, all these birds around the town start to attack for no apparent reason. And people of the town think it's because of this woman, kind of a thing. And it's really not explained. But the thing that
It's always a woman.
That's okay.
The thing that bugs me about there's a lot of things about the film that bug me. I'm not a big fan of the music, which really isn't music. It's this synthetic bird sound. You
think
don't
that's really
ever.
cool.
Okay, well, I'm not a fan of that.
Okay.
I'm also not a fan of. Why are these birds doing this? We never really
wanna know
find out.
why.
I do want to know why. Also, another thing is I remember there's a sequence where this house has been attacked and Tippi Hedren is in the house and it's very quiet and she decides when she's in the house, I'm going to go up the stairs into this attic.
Right.
And there's no apparent reason. Why are you doing this? And she actually had a problem with this in the script. And she asked Alfred Hitchcock, why is this character doing this? And Alfred Hitchcock's response is, because I told you so. That has nothing to do with the script.
Is that what he said?
Yes, that's what he said. That's what he said.
He said that. That's what he said. He said
Because
that.
I need
and
to
the weird-
recreate the shower scene from Psycho.
Now, the weird thing is, this film has also become famous because of the relationship between Tippi Hedren and Alfred Hitchcock.
Right.
There was a great film called The Girl.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great film?
Oh, it
Very
was
good.
a,
Very
yeah,
good.
yeah. It was
was
a
a
neat
good
film
film.
because
It was a good
it
film.
gave you all that behind that.
It was a good film.
Dude. It gave you all that Access Hollywood stuff about behind the scenes. You know what was going on. Why was Alfred Hitchcock
was salacious.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
it was.
okay.
Yes, it
And
was.
a really good Hitchcock performance by Toby Jones.
Toby Jones, yeah, who was in Captain
Mist.
Captain America.
Yeah, he's been-
but this whole sequence of when she's in this room and she's being attacked by birds, and you're looking at it, and then you find out the history. Oh, they took them a week to do this, and they're throwing all these real birds at Tippi Hedren. And the thing that bugged me. That also the other thing is there's a sequence when they're in this gas station, and there's this moment when everyone's out by these people that have kind of hidden within the gas station. They're behind glass, and they see this guy kind of walk out. He's got a cigarette, and he's going to get gas, and you have the people go, no, because gas is on the floor.
Right.
It's almost comical.
It was a different time.
Yes, Matt, and I'm trying to see the film through the eyes of the
1963.
63.
But can I just say, I would agree with you that
overrated.
As overrated. That this is always thought of as one of the big Hitchcock movies.
But
Right.
And I think it is overrated. I do enjoy it. I do think that there's a lot of scenes that, and I would agree with every single logic point that you guys point out. It's right there. But there are some just scenes and shocking moments that catch me off guard.
Right.
That I hadn't seen in a movie of that time.
Yeah.
The gore in it.
Yeah.
for one.
Yeah.
It's disturbing.
It's
disturbing.
But
And the monkey bar scene.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great scene. It's
And
a
you know what?
fantastic
I
great
wrote
scene.
down. I wrote down a thing that part of it seems like it's a collection of interesting little segments. You know,
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But I think
Yeah.
as a movie as a whole, I think it's because Hitchcock does the thing with the bird sounds. He does this and he does that. I'm not sure everything worked.
Well, Larry, here's the thing. The fact that you don't know why the birds are attacking
See,
is
I love
one
that.
of the things
That's
that
what-
makes
Yeah.
it scary.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I agree
I,
with
I
that.
love
know.
that. I love
There's
that.
they
No, it
don't know
bugged-
why it's attacking.
No, they
That's the-
don't know how to fix it.
That's the
There's
one thing
no
I
solution.
It's the one thing I like the most about it. Is
I
that
agree.
we don't know.
You
I
don't
agree. I
know.
like the idea that that life is like that. Sometimes bad shit happens and you have no idea why.
Bad shit happens.
Yeah,
Right.
so
To
what's
good people.
Not bad
what's your
shit.
point? I'm just
But bad
saying.
shit does happen. And,
You know, when I see a film, I want to know why birds.
why
do
do
the things
birds
they sing.
suddenly appear
Yeah.
every time you are near?
And so I this is not.
So
my
you need
favorite
everything.
Hitch-
No, I just so I understand your thought process when it comes to movies and everything.
Yes,
else
we've been
in your
here
world.
before.
So
Go
you
ahead,
need everything. No, I
bring
just
it
want to know unless everything is explained within 90 minutes to 2 hours, that you have a problem with that. If something remains a mystery to you, like that's disturbing to you.
You know what, Matt? All I'm going to say is I think this film Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Out of all of his work, he did over 50 films. I just think this film, I don't think it deserves to be put up on a pedestal to say, well, Psycho. And I think Psycho, which I think is one of the greatest, people kind of push that. Well, Psycho, it's been, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just saying that I love
Nobody
Psycho.
compares the shower scene to anything in Birds.
No, and then the movie Rebecca, which is like one of my favorite
Rebecca's
films.
great.
I'm just saying The Birds, I just think it's overrated. I think people picks on certain things and they say, oh, there's this and there's this and there's this. But I think as a film, it is an overrated
Larry,
Hitchcock
I agree
film.
with you.
Well, my biggest problem in hindsight is that Psycho was such a monster hit that he felt somehow that he had to replicate the shock value
Yes,
of it.
I think that's probably true.
And that's why she was up in the attic. All he was like, oh, I have to top the shower scene.
Yeah, right. I can see that.
And
Yeah.
the flash cuts of the guy in the house with the eyes plucked out
Yeah.
was a replica of Mrs. Bates. And
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked for me, and it was a
Yeah.
little more with the color and everything. It was shocking and graphic, and it was unexpected. But what if Tippi Hedren's in the shower, and all of a sudden birds just start? Every time she turns around, there's another bird.
In the shower.
And I'm going to throw out one more thing, okay? What if you had a little shot of by the school, there's this road or whatever, and you see all the birds like bathing in like a little pond or something, and over in the corner you see there's a giant barrel that's leaking. And in the barrel it says something like
Danger, radioactive.
Yeah, something like that.
No.
Now we know.
So radiation.
No. Wait.
I'm just-
No. You can't possibly think that would be a good idea.
Yeah,
In
why
a movie?
not?
No, you would. Wait a minute. Hold on. You would write that in a movie. It's radioactive. Really? So now it's a fucking
Maybe-
50s sci-fi movie?
Well, maybe it would be something like
Why not just have like a guy near the lake with a bottle that says poison?
Well, maybe it would be something like there was a vat that says human fat or something from a makeup facility and mixed with nuclear stuff. I'm just saying.
That would make it all better.
You have no tolerance for ambiguity.
I'm just,
Well, interesting that you say that because the next movie that I want to talk about is kind of that same idea
Birds
where
too?
it's the that's a terrible movie. by the way.
Definitely overrated.
It's the ambiguity of it that most people like about it.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's overrated because of that.
Okay.
The movie is from 2008, The Strangers, the horror film.
Okay.
This movie is kind of revered by a lot of people. They think-
Overrated.
Yeah.
So much
It's
to the
just made a
point. So
sequel.
much to the point. There's a sequel coming out right now.
I think that's way overrated.
Yeah. So The Strangers is a really super incredibly simple premise. It's this couple staying at this vacation home, and they're just assaulted and terrorized through the night by these three assailants in creepy masks.
hooligans.
And hooligans. Yeah, it was originally called the Hooligans. But
Scalawags or
and the whole thing about the
rapscallions.
movie, and it's relatively suspenseful. It's pretty kind of
okay.
brutal, and the whole thing about the movie, it's kind of loosely based on a real event, kind of, but like the whole thing is that these killers, attack this couple, some people die, and then the killers leave, and that's it. And it's like, oh, it's about it's going against your whole idea that the country is safe, and like it's like, but it wasn't very satisfying.
Kid
to
out
me.
in
Who's the
2008?
See, I think
2008, Liv Tyler, Scott Speedman, directed
Yeah,
by
no.
Brian Bertino.
It's way overrated.
It's just that like the masks are really creepy. And it's not a terrible movie. It's just that it's like okay, like I guess I was expecting so much. Like I heard raves about
Right.
it. Like
I know of the film. I'm sorry, I have not seen this
yeah,
one. I know of
I'd
it.
say, but like a movie, whereas a movie like You're Next is much more clever.
my
Much
God.
plot twists to it, and there's something going on.
and it's
There's-
the same kind of thing.
yeah,
but
yes,
with
but it's
an
a
undercurrent.
and
yeah.
a satisfying ending. There's a
Yeah,
little more
no,
to
that's
it.
a great movie.
I think with The Strangers, they're purposely trying to go for like the whole meaningless of it, like the fact that in the movies, there's a kind of a famous line where like she's like, "Why are you doing this?" And the one person says, "Because you were home." And that's it. It's like there's
Did you
no
ever-
other reason.
did
It's
you
like,
ever
Again, you're thinking it's overrated for the same reason that he thinks that The Birds is overrated.
yeah. It's like the people
You
seem
wanted
to
more
be
of a reason.
People, I think, what people
Oh,
are trying
he
to
wanted more of a reason.
No,
Well,
for the
Interesting.
strangers,
shit happens.
For the
man.
stranger, people are attaching that mindset to it, like, oh, I get it. It's like the point of the movie is that it's all pointless and random and meaningless.
But it-
Well,
but
no,
see,
but
but
that doesn't make it a satisfying movie, though.
Right.
The thing is, though, is that in that movie, I think it's done awkwardly. It's done kind of, it's too much in your face that you don't get a creepy buildup of like something weird is going on. There's a French movie called Them. which
Yes,
is
I've seen
really
it.
good.
Yeah.
And it's about
similar kind of
kind of
bit
thing,
similar
but it's
premise.
like these people in this vacation home are being assaulted, and they realize they're being assaulted by like kids.
Yeah, but you don't know that until it's like,
But you don't know that. But what's happening is that and this is supposedly based on a true story.
oh right,
That
right.
There's these wild kids that are homeless kids that sometimes would do that. Would just go to a house
Just
and
for
fuck with the
kicks.
people.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was just or to see if they could steal stuff. But what was great about that is that it was this rolling disclosure of
Right.
what is this. So first of all, you're shocked by what's happening. Why is it happening? Oh, who is doing it? And
Right.
and in the end, you don't really get a solid thing of like a horror movie. Like, well, you insulted one of these kids
it
at the
was
gas
it was
station,
radiation.
and-
It was radiation.
There's a kid drinking radiation from a can that says radiation.
Or maybe there was a can of like
Says
human
danger,
fat
do
or
not
something
drink.
that got mixed. That
well,
got
you and the
mixed
human
with-
fat.
I'm
I don't
just-
know what that is.
You know, it's like from like
You-
those places that suck fat out of people, to make
Yeah, and
them
that drives-
lose weight.
yeah.
It makes birds go
Look,
crazy.
I've been eating human fat for years, and I feel perfectly fine.
But anyway, so it's interesting to me that like The Strangers has been so popular and I
Strangers.
guess successful enough that a sequel was made. So I have no idea what
Can
the
I ask you a
sequel
goofy question?
is.
Okay, now since I haven't seen this, are you recommending it to me, or
Well,
are you?
I don't know.
mean, you're saying
I'm
it's
just saying
overrated,
that
but if
it's-
I go in with the
Yeah.
my expectations, if I bring them
Yeah,
down,
it's fairly well acted. There's some suspenseful stuff, but it's the kind of movie that by the end I'm like, that's it. Like, I don't know. It's just the ride, I guess, that's supposed to be good, but like I just felt after reading reviews it was going to be more to it.
Can I answer your question? I think that there are a lot of other really great horror movies that you could watch before.
They're still in that same wheelhouse of like, home invasion kind of idea.
Vacancy is pretty fun.
Oh, I haven't
Vacancy.
I've never seen
Vacancy's good. Vacancy's fun. I mean, I don't know if it's
It's not a classic or anything, but it's definitely a good, solid hour and a half of entertainment, and that's one that I think you would appreciate because there is a reason.
I like it already.
you like the reason,
and the
huh?
reason is also spooky and weird and creepy.
Human fat.
It's, wow, you
I
nailed
think
it.
in terms of home invasion, this one is sort of like from the other side of the telescope. But I love Don't Breathe.
Oh, I liked. Yeah,
Don't Breathe
Don't
was
breathe is fun.
See, I liked that movie, but with reservations. There are points in that movie like I say, there's
some
just
logic
kick
things,
the guy and run.
Yeah, there's some logic things.
But there's a good twist. Like the movie progresses and you find out really like what's going on. In the
that's
house.
good. I like that. That's
I was
good.
like, okay,
I just
you know?
didn't buy all the time that they were stuck in there with the freaking blind guy and they couldn't get out. I just like
sometimes you just gotta go with
Yeah,
it.
I know, but it's I like the
I would
premise.
agree. I rarely would I agree with that because it's like you want to be pure. But with that movie, I went along with it. Once
Yep. Okay,
they
yeah.
established their world and I was in it and I was with it all the way.
The twist I did like.
All
I like
right.
the twist,
Well, that's
yeah.
a good one, Sean.
Yeah, all right.
Matt?
Hey,
Matt.
would you guys mind if I slightly changed the format of what we were discussing as overrated and underrated? Because it does fit within the purview of what we talk about.
You're shaking it up here.
And I would like to talk about an underrated toy.
Ooh.
Okay.
Like this.
I like toys.
And I think that you guys all might have heard of these toys. And I got these toys. It was like right around the time when I was kind of the most into stand-up. And I was making some money and I could buy things. And I'd go into the toy store and I'd think, oh, what are the cool looking toys? And it was a lot of like Masters of the Universe stuff, which I never really got into them so much because just the proportions were always
Yeah.
weird.
They're very muscly.
Yeah, I like some of the features and the things that they could make. There was a robot one, and there was a mosquito one, and that was cool. But yeah, but then I saw in 1985, Coleco produced a line of action figures called the Sectors.
The Insectors.
Yeah, now they were called
Yes.
the Sectors, not the Insectors.
Oh, okay.
the Warriors of Symbion.
Wow.
And here's the premise, and I've got it right here. And this is from their release,
Okay.
The premise was, somewhere in space, somewhere in time, exists a planet called Symbion, where a genetic experiment fails. Frightening changes take place that cannot be stopped. The result? A world where insects and arachnids grow to frightening proportions. A world where the inhabitants have taken on the awesome characteristics of insects and arachnids.
Cool.
Prince Dargon, ruler of the peaceful, shining realm of Prosperon. I don't like that so much, but and his allies are in conflict with the forces of Devora, ruler of the dark domain of Synax, and her henchmen for possession of the hives, these fortresses.
Yeah.
Now, this toy, what they did with these toys, they were going to do 2 waves. They did the first wave. And what you would get is there was like 3, you could get 3 of like the good guys.
Right.
And you could get 3 of the bad guys. And then there were bigger sets.
Right.
Where you could get the good guy and he would ride like this big bug. And it was
Right.
cool because the bug was a glove.
Yeah.
And you would put your hand, and
Yep.
then the glove would be like the little arm,
Yes.
the little
cool.
legs of the insect.
Yes, I remember these.
And my favorite one, which I have a picture of that I can show you guys, was the bad guy, General Spydrax. And General Spydrax is
That's
this,
my internet name.
and my porn name. So we must get a lot of mail meant to go to each other. But General Spydrax, this is General Spydrax.
I had never heard of these toys
Yeah.
before.
Oh, come on.
No,
Are you
I'm
serious?
serious.
No,
I
I,
go on
I,
not
eBay and
familiar
buy
with
them,
that.
don't you? Wow.
I've known of these for years.
And so
didn't
General
know these.
Spydrax,
Yep.
this General Spydrax that you get came with this really cool looking weird like spider character, but he also had wings.
Yeah.
And he would ride it and had this cool saddle and horns, and it looked like kind of like a Lord of the Rings character, but all insect.
Wow. Was there a cartoon
derived.
with this? Like,
They did I think they did 6 of them, and they didn't last very long. They did some comic books.
Yeah.
interesting.
But they were really great. And then, like with the General Spydrax, you could put your hand in him, and he would, you could move the arms, but then the wings were battery operated, so they would flap.
They would flap,
And it was
yeah.
really cool. And what was also great about these characters is all their accessories and the way that they were molded. They were really molded nicely to the point where even like the little tiny guns, just the workmanship on the guns. Like, look at that.
Oh wow, that was 85, huh?
Fantastic.
That's cool.
And they're all really ornate, and like somebody put some love into these things.
cool.
But I think that's also what killed them, because one of the reasons that they cite for why this toy line didn't work is, for one, it took a lot more money
Yeah.
to produce them,
Yeah.
and much more than the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
And that also that the problem was that they were scary. And so a lot of
Right.
parents wouldn't buy them because even
Right.
the good guys
Yeah.
looked weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little threatening.
I think they were hoping.
Bring it back, Matt.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they were
Bring 'em back.
I think they were hoping that it would be a successful toy line.
Yes.
and would last many years. And because it didn't, and that was really. I
Right.
mean,
well,
they put a lot of-
hopefully now Disney and J.J. Abrams will get together and make the
Well, they are.
$300 million Sectars movie.
There's a company that's like Four Horsemen, I
Yeah.
think, that's doing their own. They're bringing them back.
Oh, are they?
yeah.
Oh, cool.
And and there was going to be a whole second wave.
I wonder if they're like the originals. Are they rare and valuable? Like
I've looked at them. Not really.
No.
Not really. I mean, there's
No.
a few.
they
of them.
will be after this
No.
podcast.
The one thing, like, they had their headquarters, the Hive.
Yeah.
That costs a little money.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's like if you wanted mint in the box, you probably get it for like $85
Yeah.
or something.
Do you still have yours?
I do.
Wow.
I don't have them in
Cool.
the box, but I have them all complete.
Wow, nice.
And but yeah, I really, really loved them, and I think I got pretty much all of them. But yeah, it's one that a lot of people have not heard of, and it's also a toy that so much love went into this line that it's sad to me that more people don't know about
It
it,
didn't take
now.
off. Well,
they will
and that it
know
didn't take
now.
Yeah,
That's right.
But I really wished it would have taken off. But I guess I understand.
I think I also at that time in the mid '80s, there were many toy companies that were trying to capitalize. They're all trying to
true.
do
Yeah.
what is the next Star Wars. And if you look,
and next Master of the
and the
Universe.
if you look at
Right.
Masters of the Universe, there was much more plastic that was used on those, and there were
not more than this.
No. But there
These
were
were
a ton.
solid.
Yes, I know, Matt. But there were a bunch of toy lines, and I think we had a discussion about how much money goes into the creation of a toy line, and how it's not cheap to do.
Right.
And if you have a toy line that lasts 3 years, that's good, and that's an average. And the Sectors did not
This was a
have. It
year.
was a year.
It was a year, and also if they had a really popular cartoon,
Yeah.
that
Right,
would have
sure.
helped defer a lot. But none of that really came together except for the design is amazing. Go on eBay, go on the internet, look these things up. They really are beautiful.
It's funny because a friend of mine at the time that we were buddies, we both worked at the movie theater. He, like you, he bought the entire set. I remember having this discussion with him because we were both Godzilla fans, but where I was trying to focus on either, I saw like Star Trek, Godzilla, and Star Wars. He had Johnny West, Sectors, Robot. It was constant, and so he was spending all his money on a ton of stuff. And I remember his wife at the time said, "Why don't you be more like Larry and pick just only one or two, themes?" And well, that didn't go over too well. But
that is a very good point, which is that you can't buy everything. I
No.
mean, it's just. And I understand that, like, okay, that's one more thing I can't get.
And it's a
into.
crapshoot. It's like you don't know if it's going to be a successful toy line, and you don't know if it's going to be worth money down the road.
We're talking about a whole different thing.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I'm talking about these are fun, beautiful toys.
They are.
I'm not the idea that I'm going to buy these because I hope they're going to be worth something. I don't live like that. Like,
Right, I don't either.
Right,
Yeah, yeah. And here I thought you were going to get into like underrated movies and talk about why Spider-Man 3 is underrated.
Oh,
Wow.
This is nice. This is great. Insects.
Yeah.
All right, go, man.
Spider-Man
Go.
3.
That movie made me angry.
I love Spider-Man.
Really?
Wow.
I love the hell out of
you
that
just like
movie.
any superhero movie that's the third in the
I love
franchise.
Back to the Future Part 3.
Wow.
I Indiana
Well,
Jones 3, but
yeah.
Don't get me into that. We've already discussed this.
what is about
Overrated.
Spider-Man? But wait, do you like the dancing stuff?
No, that stuff I could
Okay.
do without.
Okay.
But I still like the movie a lot.
Okay.
That stuff with emo Peter Parker dancing and playing the piano. Yeah, that was
Even Raimi doesn't like that movie.
I could see why people tune out during that movie. But I love that Spider-Man, he's cocky and arrogant in the beginning of the film, and then he gets knocked off his perch, and then he has to go swinging back with his tail between his legs to win back the graces of the city of New York. And I loved how when Spider-Man was getting the shit kicked out of him by Venom and the Sandman, and Harry Osborn as a Green Goblin shows up and he saves him. And it brought not only the movie full circle, brought all three films. It brought the entire trilogy full circle. And I just think it's not as good as the second film. The second film is the best of the bunch.
I like the second a lot.
I love Spider-Man 3. I think it's a fun movie.
That's an overrated movie.
Really?
Spider-Man, which
Spider-Man
one?
2.
Spider-Man 2 with Spider-Man 2 is
vastly overrated. It's such
I agree.
a badly
love
written
Spider-Man 2.
movie.
Spider-Man 2 is the Citizen Kane of comic
It's
book
a
movies.
bad.
That's
no,
what
my
all
God.
the reviewers said when it opened.
No
And
way.
I went to see it and I thought so much of this is rehashed dialogue from the first one.
No, the
it's not
first
good.
one was okay. The second
No, the
Spider-Man
first
movie
one-
was great.
The
Wait,
first one has heart. The second one is a bloated mess with a lot of logic.
Disagree.
Problem.
Disagree.
Wait.
We have a disagreement.
Spider-Man 2 is the perfect embodiment of a comic book movie, specifically the Amazing Spider-Man number 50, where it's that red comic book cover of Spider-Man No More. That entire movie is a perfect representation of a perfect comic book. It's a perfect movie. It's a coming-of-age movie about a superhero. I love the scene.
Have you seen other movies?
I have seen them all.
No, wait. Okay, so wait. I'm curious though, but for Spider-Man 3,
Yes.
I guess one of the things that
I love Spider-Man.
You're
3.
saying it's
Well, but-
underrated.
It's underrated.
But,
and by the way, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's actually fresh. It actually has enough positive reviews.
Interesting.
Where it is fresh. Look it up on Rotten
what
Tomatoes.
do they know?
See,
Right.
but like for
Yeah,
me, Spider-Man
don't-
3, I thought the origin sequence of Thomas Hayden Church when he becomes a Sandman is like so silly. He like wanders over a fence into like this thing and like nobody notices him. It's the way he becomes Sandman is ridiculous to me.
Okay, does everything have to have logic
well,
and an
no,
explanation?
I know,
Yeah,
but like
You
the
with
birds. Yeah, yeah.
Come on, Larry.
but I don't know. I didn't buy it. The Sandman himself is kind of hard to
But
do.
the end of the film, when the Sandman, because a lot of things that a lot of people, one of the things the fans had a problem with was that the Sandman was the burglar who killed Peter Parker's Uncle Ben. And that
That's
didn't
annoying.
happen. in the
Oh,
comics.
yeah, right.
Too
Like,
many
I thought-
Yeah, that's-
coincidences.
Wait a
yeah.
minute. I thought, you know what? This is a different medium. You're not talking about comic books. You're talking about a film.
Right.
Okay, that's actually a pretty cool way to tie the movies together. And when you get to the point in Spider-Man 3, towards the end of the
And
film,
Venom is his brother, and
yeah, and
Darth
Luke
Vader is
Vader's
his
his father.
yeah.
But when you get to that point in the film in Spider-Man 3 where Sandman says, because obviously Peter Parker knows that
Right,
he
right.
killed he was the burglar who killed his uncle. He goes, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to understand. And then Peter Parker says, I forgive you. I mean, like, I felt the feels, man.
Wow.
I mean,
I
and
guess, I don't know. I just there's too many things in the movie I didn't like. Like to me, I think the first Spider-Man is
I agree.
still the strong
Yeah.
of the Raimi films.
I agree.
I think it's
but let me-
strongest,
let me-
has the most heart.
But let me ask you though, what did you think of Spider-Man: Homecoming?
I liked Spider-Man: Homecoming.
'Cause I really liked that a lot. I thought they got Peter Parker dead on. For
We
that.
all have, I think, the same problems with it.
Listen. Spider-Man: Homecoming is a fun movie, but Spider-Man 2 is the right Peter Parker. Listen. If you go back and you read those comics from the late '60s, that when John Romita started drawing and Stanley was still writing the comics, he had a lot of. He had the weight of the world on his shoulders. He was not this happy-go-lucky kid that Tom Holland played in Spider-Man: Homecoming. I mean, I love Spider-Man: Homecoming.
No, wait. Hold on.
Okay, here we go.
Hold on.
Here we go.
So, I love the first Sam Raimi one. The second one, there's some moments of it that are just fun as an action movie, but throughout those movies, the problem that Peter Parker has is that he's not funny. Because even in those early comics,
I know what you're getting at.
and that was a very
He was a wise
important
ass.
part to Peter Parker's character, which was the wise ass sense of humor, because it was his way of coping with the danger that was happening in the moment, with his own guilt, with everything else.
It was also when he put that mask on. It was his
Like he's a
super
different
ego.
person, yeah.
Right. Like
Right,
Peter
right.
Parker was a sweet kid, a shy kid, but he was the id. But when he put the mask on, he was the super ego.
Right. Yeah.
And I agree with you. But the Sam Raimi movies dropped the ball by not having him be the wise ass he was in the comics.
And that's what I like about Homecoming,
Right.
is that they brought that back.
But they lost the angst. There was not enough angst. I get that they
I would
wanted
agree.
to make it.
Once again, it's a little too goofy.
It's a little too goofy. I mean, I loved Homecoming. It was a ton of fun, and I liked the humor. But
I got problems with it.
there still has yet to be like the perfect Spider-Man movie. But I still
I
say
think the best Spider-Man in the new wave was that scene in
Civil War. Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
That's still one of the strongest of the Marvel films. I
that was
think
great.
too. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Completely
All
agree.
right.
Interesting.
Well, this has been great. This has
Yes.
been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What do you guys say we do like a lightning round?
Oh yeah, so
Let's do it.
each person do like an overrated,
An overrated and underrated. Okay.
Okay.
We'll try and do it quick.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, James.
All right, I'll start with Underrated. This was a 1997 novel by Ira Levin. He did a sequel to Rosemary's Baby, and it's called Son of Rosemary. And unlike the TV movie, Look What Happened to Rosemary's Baby, a lot of people don't know about this novel.
Right.
I heard it was terrible.
The thing is, it's not good. But
I hear the ending is especially. I know what the ending is, but
right.
Does the baby grow up to be the spawn of the devil?
Well, yes.
It is the
Kind
spawn
of.
the
It
devil.
is a sequel to yeah. But the thing about it is that if you're a fan of the original novel or movie, then you could have a worse reading experience than this, because even if you don't agree with what Levin decided to do, and I do think he probably had medical bills or something and it was just a quick paycheck for him, it's interesting. It's just like wow, okay, maybe not.
Let me ask you: would it have been better that book made into a movie than the TV movie that was made, which was?
I think it's
look,
more- I think-
what the hell happened to Rosemary's Baby?
I think it's more interesting.
Okay.
Okay. And for overrated, and Matt, this might be the last time you have me on the show.
God.
if only I had that power.
I was in film school and I went to a midnight movie of this because I had heard about its reputation and my expectations were pretty high.
Sure.
And I just didn't get it. Clockwork Orange, and I still don't. I still don't get it.
Really?
I still
You know
don't
what?
get it. Maybe I need to
Interesting.
revisit it.
Revisit
It's
it.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Revisit
It's
it.
Yeah.
it's I think it's brilliant, but I will say
Me too.
this. I will say this, that it is such an onslaught that I would understand if certain people didn't get on board. Like that's one I would say there's a lot of disturbing, weird shit that
It's a cold film.
it's very well,
It's very cold.
It's Kubrick.
Kubrick is
yeah,
cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that one, I would say one of the things that I really loved when I first saw that is that with the coldness, there was this thread of really dark humor that you either
Yes.
got on board with or you didn't, that I think helped the film.
Maybe now that I'm older, I should revisit it, but I haven't had the desire to. I'll give it a shot if I.
I mean, just visually alone, I think you'd appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Visually, it's amazing.
You know, the weird thing for me, I didn't exactly get the humor, Matt, if there was humor
I
in it,
understand.
but it's like, no, but I was captivated by the whole thing. I mean, and what's weird is, I hated this character.
Right.
And then you get to the point where you feel sorry for
I
the
know,
guy.
and that's amazing filmmaking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I still think, it was a tough film for me to watch. There's a lot of things that I didn't like,
Sure.
but I still think it's a great film.
And
So-
it followed 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is a fundamentally different movie.
but you say, but you say Clockwork Orange is overrated.
Yes. Well, for me, when I saw it at the time, I was disappointed.
Watch it
Okay.
again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
I think you should watch it again. I'm not gonna. I understand your feelings, but I say give it one more try.
Okay, well, along those lines, then I'm going to throw out an overrated film, and maybe someone's going to get all upset here, but I really believe that what makes this film special, it's not if you're at home watching it on TV by yourself. You have to be in a theater with a ton of people. And when I saw this film in a theater with about 3 people, I was not having a good time. And I'm talking about what I think is an overrated film.
Rocky Horror.
Yes, Rocky Horror.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and this is from 1975 Rocky Horror Picture Show, and
I
I'm
thought
sorry.
this was gonna come up.
And guys, look. I know there are fans out there, and I get it, people. I get it. I want to let you guys know. The first time I saw this film, I heard about Midnight Show, Larry, it's crazy, and I'm okay, great. Hey, I want to be on this bandwagon here, and so I went with a buddy, and he had a bag full of toast, and we start to go to the theater where a theater tenant stopped us,
Right.
and he checked our bags. He took away the toast. We went in the theater. We sat there. There were about 3 other people in the audience. And the film started. And I'm watching it. And the whole experience, it just totally lost me. I didn't find it to be very good. I didn't find it to be funny. And I thought this was kind of stupid.
So that's interesting because when I saw it, of course, too, for the first time with the big audience, the cult thing.
With a big audience.
No, and it was really fun. But then later, when I just watched it at home, I appreciated it for its love of sci-fi and horror movies. And it's a quirky, bizarre, odd movie. It's not the greatest movie ever made, but it's so strange and such a strange
is.
but also great performances. That it's a different experience watching it by yourself.
Listen, that's a movie that it's not a movie; it's an experience.
Yes,
And you have
I
to
agree with you.
experience with a theater full
Sure.
of people.
It's much more fun.
And also, a movie that I experience that I enjoy more. I mean, I've never been the hugest Rocky Horror fan. I saw it with friends a couple of times, but the movie experience in theater, shared experience, I enjoyed more was The Room.
Oh yes, definitely.
The Room is.
Yeah,
I mean,
you kind of have to
amazing,
see that. with,
You
yes.
gotta see that in the theater.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
it's so-
I agree.
it's so
but
great.
the point is it's an experience that you have a lot of people in a theater.
Yeah.
They're all talking
And
at the
still
theater.
to this day, they have midnight showings.
Yeah,
I mean-
and the funny thing is this was directed by Jim Sharman, who he later on went on to do Shock Treatment. And
I
this
actually
film,
like Shock Treatment a lot,
And this
too.
film has Tim Curry, big charismatic guy.
But
Susan
he's
Sarandon,
great
Barry
in it,
Bostwick,
though.
Meatloaf,
See-
Richard O'Brien, and I mean it has there's this tune. Let's do the time warp again. Put those things aside. I mean, to me it drags. I didn't find it to be interesting, but again, seeing it. But then here's the funny thing: my buddy was so upset. He says, "Larry, this is not how this is supposed to be experienced." And he took me 6 months later, and I really didn't want to go, but we went. We went to a midnight showing in Berkeley, of all places, and the theater was packed with about 1,000 people, and they were throwing toast and spraying water.
You liked
and
it more, at
I
least.
did. I
mean, we've gone
did.
where they have on the stage people performing.
No, they actually had people
yeah.
on the stage, and it
And
made
it's
it
fun,
it was
yeah.
almost like a community thing.
Sure,
And-
sure.
But Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now, aside from the communal aspect of watching the movie, I would also say, I mean, performances are great. Tim Curry is like a force of nature.
Really
in that
is.
thing. He's
Yeah.
so great. And you guys are always talking about music, always on about music. That soundtrack is fantastic.
I agree. I think the
And
soundtrack's
all
great.
the songs are great and catchy. I mean, from the very beginning to the very end, all of them great.
Well-
Whatever Happened to a Saturday Night, The Time Warp, Sweet Transvestite is hilarious.
Again, overrated. And I'm going to say, Matt, my addendum is if you're going to see it, don't watch it at home all by yourself. This is something that's an experience.
Hey, you want to know my first ability to watch that movie was I bought a Super 8 condensed version. It was like 18 minutes.
a condensed
Wow.
And I
version.
still have it.
Oh my
Wow.
god!
And that's what I saw, and it had of course, there were all kinds of things missing, but it had like
Right.
Time Warp and Sweet Transvestite, and I remember watching that and going, "This thing is fantastic." And I later, when I worked at a theater where Tim Curry was in this show, he was doing Me and My Girl, and I was the backstage guy, and he signed my Super 8 thing.
No,
Wow, that's awesome.
great.
Yeah, so that was cool.
Well, that's
just a
that's a great
little
experience.
side story. Yeah.
Now, I'll just throw this out as an underrated film because I remember when the film came out and there were a lot of critics that didn't like this film, but I remember seeing it and was just totally blown away because I was totally into like finding Nazis, and I'm talking about from 1978, The Boys from Brazil. Do you guys remember this? This was directed by Franklin Schaffner, who gave us Planet of the Apes.
I love that movie.
Yeah, and Patton, and people forget about this, but and people who are not really that familiar with it because
I love that
it
movie.
stars Gregory Peck, who pretty much his whole career he's playing a good guy.
He is terrific.
And he really must. I got the impression he really relished playing that, that
Yes.
role.
Well,
Yeah.
but it's funny you should say this because he was on The Tonight Show, and I'll never forget this. I saw this. He was on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and he's doing his thing, and he's saying how much he enjoyed being
Hey,
on.
that's pretty good.
And they showed a clip. They showed a clip where he's at the scene where he plays Joseph Mengele, this really horrific Nazi doctor, okay, who did a lot of horrific experiments. But in the scene, it's at a dance, and he's dancing with this woman, and this
I know
person
that
comes
one.
up, and he gets all upset because
yeah.
this guy's supposed to be someplace else, and he starts fighting him. And this old lady, the guy falls down, and the old lady goes, "What are you doing?" And they showed the clip of Gregory Peck looking at this old lady, goes, "Shut up, you ugly." Beep. And they beat out the bitch, but you could see it, and the audience went nuts. And Johnny Carson looks and goes, "Wow!" And Gregory Peck was like so thrilled. But the story follows Laurence Olivier, who actually plays this. He's kind of like
Nazi hunter.
He's the Jewish Nazi hunter, and he Steve Guttenberg gives him this information where he's trying to track down Joseph Mengele.
Playing the character that he played in the Police Academy movies. Go ahead.
No.
and La Valantula.
The concept is really kind of creepy. That Mengele came up a way with taking bits and pieces of flesh or a rib or this from Hitler, and he could create this artificial life or
clone.
make a clone.
Right.
And that they impregnated 90 women. So supposedly there were 90 women having 90 little Hitlers. I mean, and when you check this out, and it's like, oh my god! And so what their job
It's a
was.
ridiculous premise, but it's still
you
fun.
say that,
Yeah,
but
it's fun.
Matt, I bought it.
It's
I bought
so
it.
fun.
Well, and
It's
because
still fun.
Hitler's father supposedly died when he was a boy, then
Yes.
all these fathers have to be killed at that
yes.
same
Because
age.
the idea
They're
is
trying to-
one out of the
Yeah.
90, and it comes to this great climax. I loved it. I think it's underrated.
I do
Like,
too.
It
what
is.
you
It is
guys-
a very. It
I
is a
like
very
it.
talky film, but it's enjoyable.
I
You
enjoy
guys
it.
just
I
said
like it.
something
Jerry
about
Goldsmith's score too. is
Oscar
really
nominated
good.
Jerry Goldsmith.
Really?
score, yeah.
It's good.
Underrated
I like
film.
that one. I like
Thank
it. That's a good choice.
I like it.
Okay, so here's a horror film this is from like the early 70s that I think is underrated. I think you guys will agree that you like it though. This is, all the Hammer films, even the Amicus films everybody knows about. But Tygon Pictures was another company, a British company
Sure,
that was
know
making
well.
films along with Hammer and Amicus. They're probably like the poor stepchild of
You
those
down with
other.
Tygon, Mance?
I'm in with Tiger.
And this is a film that I really like and is very unique and original and really good, and that is The Creeping Flesh.
Oh, that's a
The
great
Creeping
movie.
Flesh, yeah.
Creeping Flesh is Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, directed by Freddie Francis. And Peter Cushing is a scientist who just finds this huge skeleton that's not quite human. It's kind of like monstrous looking. And he believes it to be like it's the essence of evil, like the origin of evil itself. And for some reason, like when water gets in the skull and on the skeleton, it causes flesh to grow back into the thing. So like basically, if it's immersed in water or rain gets on it, it's going to grow into this creature.
Like a chia pet.
And not to do a play on the title, but it is very creepy flesh.
Yeah, yes,
It really
is.
is.
It is.
It's membrane.
Yeah. But it's very like I said, very unique movie. It's great because it's not like another Frankenstein film or a vampire movie. It's just something very
original
different.
premise. Yeah,
and it's a cool little twist at the end. And of course, Lee and Cushing are fantastic, and it's just really good. It's just like a solid film.
Yeah,
it's worth
I love
checking
it.
out. So I don't
Nice
think
one, Sean.
Yeah, no, people don't really mention that one a lot.
yeah, I like that one a lot.
That's an underrated.
Yeah,
Underrated.
for overrated, I would say 1984. This movie comes up a lot, and people, I don't know, it still has a popularity, and I just don't think it's very good, and that is Children of the Corn.
No,
The original Children of the
nah.
Corn. But like you hear people, this movie spawned like 6 fucking sequels.
Well,
Yeah.
at the time, I guess it was good enough.
I guess, but you watch it now, it's
But it's
weak.
not dated.
No,
It's
yeah,
not very well
aged
acted.
Scott,
well.
I
Yeah.
remember. I saw it when it came out, and like you, I remember being disappointed. And I
You always hear people like, "Oh, Malachi,
was like
that's
a
Pikachu."
Malachi.
Like,
No,
it's not that.
no.
It's like a bad. It's like a TV
It was a
movie.
B movie. It was
I
a
think
B movie.
Yeah.
I think with that movie, I think people like the idea of it more.
Yeah, the
than they
religious
like the
cult of
movie.
children killing off all the. It is
Living in
maybe
corn.
James, you would
The short story is,
Who doesn't like corn?
is
Is it good?
impactful. Yeah, it's
Okay.
a strong story.
The story
Okay.
is great. I
Yeah.
wish someone would do that
Well,
story.
they made not
someday.
only 6 sequels. I think they made a remake, a TV movie remake. I don't know. They keep
Yeah.
making them, but like I don't know. But the original, I've really underwhelmed. And I'm just going to throw out there too. I think the entire Scream franchise is really overrated.
Oh, I love the Scream
no.
franchise.
I'm not going to agree
I'm
with
not
that. The
saying-
first
I don't
one,
hate
the
it.
first one, I
But it's,
really
it's,
liked.
If you're
it's,
saying
it's
the
diminishing returns
the
with every
int-
sequel.
First
though.
and the second were equally
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's-
The entire franchise, I would say yes, overrated. I would say the first one especially, is amazing.
Great.
And I like that the
At the-
second one is a spoof of the first one. So
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
two,
Yeah,
okay.
I did like
movies are
those.
actually
And I have
pretty good.
not seen. I guess there's an MTV TV series
Yeah,
based
well,
on
forget
Scream.
those.
I've not seen that.
I mean,
But,
Scream
like-
3 was not the very good. Scream 4 is just like forgettable.
Yeah,
Forget
yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay.
But the first two movies are equally good.
Good,
All right, Matt.
good one, Sean.
Okay.
All right, buddy, bring it home.
I'm going to go with something recent because I know there's been some discussion about it, but I think it's a really great movie, and I think it's underrated, especially by the movie-going audience, and that would be Blade Runner 2049.
I love it.
I agree.
Oh no,
Yes.
no!
Fun movie.
I think it's a great movie.
Me too.
I think
No.
it's smart.
You're
I think
wrong.
it looks great.
You're wrong.
And
I'll watch that over La La Land
yeah,
any day.
The fact that you,
Hey.
the fact that La La Land makes sense to you.
wait.
And this one doesn't.
Hey, I'm with you.
No,
I
no,
agree
I'm
with
not.
you.
talking
This
about
is not
James.
aimed at you.
James
I'm
does
looking
not
at-
like Blade Runner
I'm looking
2000.
at that
Overrated,
motherfucker right there.
full circle.
overrated,
Yes, we really have, haven't
overrated.
we?
That movie should have been panned
What?
across the board.
What? Why?
Yes.
Why?
Blade Runner was great.
Why?
I didn't buy. Okay, you
didn't buy that. You didn't buy the
some
space.
major logic problems. Okay,
like?
you're the chief of police, and anybody can just walk into your office and kill you.
James,
I mean,
the woman who goes into her office is not known to be a killer. She works for the huge corporate guy.
There's no-
Why do people think she would be going in to
there's-
murder somebody?
There's no locks. There's no guards. There's nothing.
They would let her in if she works. She's the
she works
she's
for
the,
Tyrell's
the right hand
here.
man
Okay,
of the head honcho.
Same thing about this. Ryan Gosling. He's a pariah because he's a Blade Runner. He lives in a shitty building in a shitty neighborhood. Anybody can walk into his apartment. Maybe because he's an android, that doesn't matter.
James, in the first Blade Runner,
He's
anybody
a Blade
can walk
Runner.
into Deckard's apartment.
Yes.
Really?
Really?
Blade Runner 2049. If I never in a million years thought they would ever be able to make a worthy sequel.
Oh, they
And they
didn't.
did.
They
Yes, they
did not.
did. Yes, they
I
did.
think they
It's,
did.
it's a smart
I'm not-
script.
Oh,
and there's
yeah.
so many original, unique ideas. There's some tremendous performances.
And visuals.
Can you
Get-
explain to me? I'm sorry. Can you explain to me why they're after Rick Deckard? Who's after him and why?
Well,
Go
take
for it.
Yeah.
first of all, guys, the Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, the reason it endured, not just because it was so stylized and ahead of its time, was how many times have we seen film and TV ask the question, what does it mean to be human? And obviously the original Blade Runner did that better than anything up
Right.
until the rebooted Battlestar Galactica. But, which I thought was great.
Me too.
But then you get to Blade Runner 2049 and you find out that Deckard and Rachel had a kid.
Yeah.
I got the fucking chills.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
whoa. That takes the concept of the original Blade Runner and it raises the bar. It raises the stakes.
And it makes
They had a kid.
And
it raises-
the antagonists are so terrified of
yeah,
that.
it raises the threat level.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Right. That's
it
a great.
does.
That's a great idea.
It was a great. It was. So, you
And
know what?
Deckard is a linchpin to this entire story.
That's why
of
they're after
finding more information.
Oh,
Now,
right.
here's where I would maybe have some criticism of the film. I thought the Deckard stuff was probably the weakest stuff in the movie. I thought that
The end?
I wish no, not the end, but when they first discover him, I thought it was a kind of a wasted opportunity of him just sitting in that room, and I wanted something a little bit more. Now that being said, this is the story they were telling. That scene moved on to another scene that got me to the place where I was ultimately satisfied.
I didn't buy it.
When
I did not buy it.
can you imagine sitting in that pitch meeting? How do we do a sequel to Blade Runner? I mean, how? I mean, they're going to do it.
Right.
And then someone says, what if Rachel and Deckard had a baby? What if they had a kid? Holy shit, there it is.
But to me, that didn't deliver on that promise.
Can I-
Really?
It opened that concept, that world, that threat, if you will, that the replicants are reproducing.
Yeah.
On the surface, yes, and I did not go in wanting to hate it, but I walked out, and the more I thought about it, I was like, nothing.
Well, I'll tell you this about Blade
You
Runner.
didn't like the
2049.
songs?
I'll tell you this about the Blade Runner 2049. Like the original Blade Runner, it is a movie that is going to reap more rewards the more you
I agree.
see
I
it.
totally
think
agree.
so
I
too.
totally agree.
I think you're right.
Can I ask
And
you one
also,
thing though?
can
I would just want to ask one thing though. I did like the film, but in the first film, that powerful moment with Roy Batty when he saves
when he
Deckard and
saves him.
and he sits him there, and he sits down with the little bird in his hand.
Yeah.
And he goes through his spiel about
yeah.
I've seen things you humans wouldn't
Not
believe.
Tears and Rain.
I didn't find a moment in the second film that to me was as powerful. However,
I agree.
however, I did like the second film.
But that's what I'm saying is that, like, look, we have Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Blade Runner is great. This got as close, I think, as you could to kind of capturing a little bit of, especially the feel,
Yeah, but without copying.
but
the
without
original.
copying it, with
Right.
making it something different. And
Which
so,
is something you can't say for the new Star Wars films.
No,
a lot of
no,
times
no,
you're
no,
relying
no.
too much on the old movies.
The brilliance of, first of all, the brilliance of Blade Runner 2049 is that it does feel different. It does feel like its own thing while still being in that world. The score was so... It was different, but it was Blade Runner.
Yeah, I agree.
The world was different, but it was Blade Runner.
they did such an amazing job of making me feel like this is the same world, but years later.
Yeah, absolutely. It did feel like 30 years later. And by the way, look, the Roy Batty scene has become what it was over time. I mean, it is a great scene. But again, Blade Runner 2049 is going to age well. I've seen it 3 times, and
Yeah.
the more I see it, the more I love it. And
have to
hang
give it
on,
another chance.
the end of the movie,
Yeah.
the very, very,
The very
end
last
of the
is
film
great.
is great.
Yeah.
And it is very satisfying.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's just a sidebar. So 2 years ago, I got my driver's license renewed
I still think you say for the first time.
for my first time.
Right. Okay.
And I get it, I get it in the mail. And the expiration, my driver's license expires in November of 2019, which is when Blade Runner takes place.
Nice.
So last year, that I did a Facebook Live Q&A with Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford to debut the brand new trailer for
Nice.
Blade Runner 2049.
Nice.
So I'd interviewed both those guys before, but
Awesome.
so I went backstage and I was like, guys, and they're like, oh, hey, how are you? And I said, guys, oh my God, I love Blade Runner. Oh my God, it's my favorite movie of all time. And check this out. So I take out my driver's license. I'm like, check this out. Take a look. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, look when it expires. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, but that's when Blade Runner takes place. And they go,
And that's when they call security.
and that's when they went, oh, now we know why you're doing this.
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
that was cool. Like I went, but that's when Blade Runner did. They're like, oh, like Harrison Ford looked at Ryan, guys like, oh, okay, like, is this guy a friggin' a moderator or was he this?
Well, if there's anything I'm thrilled about is that we started.
Hey, I'm not done yet.
Oh,
Are you really? This is what he does all the time.
I never did my lightning round either, fellas.
Yeah.
Constantly trying to wrap the show.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Matt. Please.
Were you
can-
rapping you? because that would be great.
You can leave if you want.
Well, this has been great. I'm done, and I'm going to get in my car.
I'm so sorry. Please continue.
All right, here's my overrated, and I'm going to say that this is overrated simply for me. I know why the fan base of this film love this movie.
Okay.
But for me, I watched it and I went, giant yawn. The things that are supposed to be funny about it aren't funny. And then
Okay.
the rest of it I just don't care about.
All right.
And
I know what
that's the movie Brave. The Disney movie Brave.
Okay.
You didn't like Brave?
You know what?
I loved Brave.
You know what I loved about Brave?
I've never seen Brave.
Oh, Sean, it's a great film.
I don't know. It's just kind of thing.
Yeah.
What entertainment? what great stories?
Yeah, I'll check it out. but
Pixar
I'm just not,
films?
Some fantasy thing with this woman, with this girl with red hair, and like that was the thing that I liked the most about it was like boy, they really did her hair nicely. Like the CGI hair, I thought was
The red hair.
top notch.
Yeah, yeah.
But everything else, like the humor,
Yeah.
nothing there at all. Like nothing remotely funny in that entire movie. So there was no humor. Those songs drive me up the wall.
I love those songs.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not. I realize that this is not for me, but unfortunately, I
Yes.
got dragged. To
It
this.
is, you know what? It is not
I-
for you. I
am
went
not
with
a
my
6-year-old
kid.
girl.
No, I took my kid, and we had a terrific time. The audience loved it. It's for someone who has love in their heart and who has
So
warmth.
see Clockwork Orange instead.
Yeah. It's
the songs in Clockwork Orange.
It's not your cup of
though,
tea.
I thought the midpoint of the film, when the mother turns into the bear, that was like, oh, okay, this just got interesting.
But then she.
But then it doesn't.
No,
I
dude,
liked
are you
Brave.
kidding?
I
No,
didn't
she
love
starts
it.
to
I didn't love it.
change. She starts to. What are you talking about? She starts to change.
I'm like,
She becomes
okay,
more
your mom's a
bear-like.
bear.
And then there's that evil bear. And then they have this battle. Oh, you didn't like that? That was great. That was
don't-
dramatic.
Matt, what do you have against bears?
I couldn't give a shit. I just felt sorry for the bears. I just like, why can't bears get along?
Okay,
That's
Matt,
where
I respectfully disagree with you.
All right. Okay. All right.
All right, wrap it up.
Scott, take us home.
Wrap it up. Underrated movie. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This movie came out on June 29th, 2001.
Ooh.
It was highly anticipated because this movie's director took over the project from another director who just never got around to making the movie. Can you guess what this movie is?
AI.
AI.
Yes, AI, artificial
You're saying
intelligence.
it's underrated?
It's underrated.
Underrated.
That was a
movie.
colossal.
I
that
love
movie.
this movie.
Wow,
The
really?
movie,
No.
It is not a perfect film.
No.
But
No.
here's the interesting thing about AI, artificial intelligence.
I dare
The
you.
imperfection of that movie is what makes it great. Because, listen.
So like Plan 9, like that kind of thing.
It's exactly like Plan 9. Exactly like Plan 9. No, for many, many years, Stanley Kubrick was going to direct this
Right.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because he takes so long to make movies,
Yeah.
who's he going to cast as a kid that's going to stay a kid
Right.
for
Yeah.
the
Right.
50 years it's going to take to make this movie?
This is right.
So then Stanley Kubrick passes away in March of 1999. And who picks it up? Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Now, you're
Oops.
talking about two completely different filmmakers here.
Well,
Very much.
You're
yeah.
talking about a cold filmmaker who's notoriously cold, and you're talking about another filmmaker who, for better or worse, is very in touch with his heart and his feelings.
Right.
So when you're watching that movie, it does not walk the fine line between the two sensibilities. It weaves back and forth between the sensibilities. And if you know Kubrick's sensibility and you know Spielberg's sensibility, watching the movie weave back and forth between their sensibilities makes it a really fascinating and engaging experience. Now, many people think that the coda to the film, the end of the movie, goes on way too long, and it's out there, and it does, and I get the criticism, but the movie is about the movie starts off, the polar ice caps have melted, humanity is dying, and the kid wants his mommy, and he'll have mommy for a day, and then what? So it's a really haunting film.
It's a movie. I will admit I'll have to see it again. I only saw it the one time in the theater, and I was quite underwhelmed.
And Haley Joel Osment is fantastic in this movie.
I only like the teddy bear.
And well,
Teddy, and who voiced Teddy?
and Scott, with all due
don't
respect,
That was Ben Kingsley.
and
Really?
my friend, with all due respect,
Yes.
I mean, you're making it sound as if the directors were separate. They were not, my friend. Quite contrary. It was actually Kubrick had the story, and he talked to Spielberg, and he said, this sounds like something you would do.
Right,
And
that's
they
right.
actually talked about working on it together. The script was being developed by Kubrick, and he passed away. But it was something that Spielberg had been working on with him. And it is true.
right,
When you
you're
get
right,
to the
that's
end,
right.
you can see the influences of both directors. It's funny because you say it's an underrated.
It's uneven.
On our last show, we did Sue Murphy and I, we talked about it being overrated.
is that
yes,
right?
yes,
Interesting.
because the kind of stuff that you said, it's this big thing, but it was so frustrating, so irritating to me. I thought it should have ended. Here it is.
He's
the little
under the water.
boy's under the water. He sees the blue fairy. And he's a robot, and
There's
he
no
says,
way.
"I wish I'd be a real boy. I want to be a real boy. I want to be a real boy." And the idea of going away and having this little robot is going to be there begging the statue for the eternity.
There's no way Spielberg is going to do
No,
a
dude,
finale
no,
like
that's
that.
my point. That would have been a better ending,
It
though.
would have been a better ending.
I
but-
think a better ending would have been it not being made after Kubrick died.
But yeah,
Was that movie a hit though when it came out?
It was no. It
was
was
kinda
not a hit.
middling,
it wasn't-
For once, the people
Yeah,
speak
the-
correctly.
It wasn't a bomb.
Week-to-week drop-off.
It wasn't a
huge.
bomb, and it wasn't a huge
right. It was
hit.
like it was kind of right. Okay.
Wow, I get it. It's,
And the other thing,
it's
by the way,
Astro Boy.
it's interesting. As far as I know, so Spielberg wrote the screenplay, or he was credited with writing the screenplay for Close Encounters of the Third Kind when Paul Schrader actually wrote the first draft of it. But Spielberg took screenplay credit for Close Encounters, in which which Pinocchio is referred to in Close Encounters,
Right, and Jiminy
you hear
Cricket,
the theme
which-
song. You hear the theme song
Yes,
when you wish
yes,
upon
you
a
do.
star.
Sorry.
So then in AI artificial intelligence,
There it is.
It's Pinocchio.
It is.
And
No,
it's interesting
I'm with you.
because AI, Spielberg took the screenplay credit, which I don't think he had done since Close Encounters.
Interesting.
And both of them are very I mean, it's a massive coincidence, I think, but one that's worth pointing out. Okay, overrated. All right, let's go out with a bang here.
All
Are
right,
you ready?
my friend.
Are you ready? Overrated. The most overrated movies in the history of movies. Fucking Lord of the Rings. I hate those movies. I hate those movies.
What?
They
Are you insane?
Larry, give it up. Those movies are boring as shit. Boring.
No, they're not
10
boring.
and a half hours of
It's
absolute
great.
boring.
It's great, exciting
It
stuff.
is-
Dude,
Oh.
Academy Award winning. Hey, Best Picture.
Overrated.
No.
The most overrated
no.
Oscar winner after Crash. It is just boring. Boring.
I agree
I
that they're
do-
too long.
All the hobbits look the same. I mean, come on.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
I do
wait,
understand.
wait,
I
dude,
do. Wait,
are you-
I'm speaking now.
Go, Matt.
I understand why you think they're overrated.
Why?
Because they're kind of bloated productions.
They're
and especially
redundant.
the last
That
one.
I agree with.
The last one has like 9 different endings.
Right. Return of the
And I
King.
get that, but I would say no one could have pulled that off.
No one should have.
No, well, you must not. Do you like the?
Come on, Larry. Put up your dude.
No,
Do you like the original source material?
Okay.
There you go.
You don't like the
read-
fantasy.
That's our show.
You don't like the
20
fantasy.
pages.
The Little Hobbit.
20
You don't like.
pages.
You don't like it.
No.
So wait,
I
this
tried
is-
to
I get
read.
it. If you
I
don't like
read.
wrestling
Wait,
films,
listen to
if
me.
you don't like wrestlers, you're not going to like a wrestling film.
I get
You
it.
don't like
What?
Little Hobbits, fantasy, and dragons. I get
I
it.
tried to read Lord of the Rings and my eyes rolled back into my
Okay,
head.
so
See,
I
it's
get
not
it
your
now.
cup
I
of
get it.
tea.
I get it.
It's not your cup of tea.
But these movies, listen, what works for one medium, you can't equate the mediums. A book is a book, and
No,
a
I
movie's
agree.
a movie.
I agree.
And
I
the
think
movies
I
were
enjoy the
redundant.
movies.
It's run, fight, rest, run, fight, rest,
Eat.
Run, and it's like you get to the end of the first movie. Oh, there's Mount Vesuvius or whatever the fuck it is, and they have to go through all the 2 towers,
Mordor.
and then you get to what is it? The Return of the Thing, and
Return
it's
of the King.
I remember when I went to the press screening for the third movie, Return of the King.
Yeah.
And I checked in. I said to the publicist, I said, "Hey, how long's the movie?" And she goes, 3.5 hours. I went, ugh. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, Jesus
Dude,
Christ!
that didn't- you bring tears to your
I went
eyes?
out of the film. I took a break. I went out.
Yeah.
I actually started watching Return of the King.
Yeah.
And then I left that to go watch Lost in Translation from start to
Then you
finish.
saw Superman 3,
and then I
came
came
back
back,
in.
and then I came back to finish watching Return of the King. I didn't miss a thing.
What's
No,
all
that's-
the director's cuts? They're like 9 hours.
They're
long.
even longer.
Jesus Christ!
I
Give me
love
10
these
hours,
films.
10 and a half hours of my
This
life
is actually
gone.
This is a
gone.
landmark episode.
I would rather watch Star Trek 5 than watch Lord of the Rings again.
Okay.
Come on, Matt Weinhold.
have crossed the line. You have crossed the line.
crossed
No,
it.
Star Trek 5. Really?
Star Trek 5.
One of the worst films ever made.
Star Trek 5
Really?
compared to Lord of the Rings, it's Citizen Kane.
I do enjoy Star Trek 5.
This is
the wrong
this is a landmark episode.
you are dead to me. You are dead.
This is a landmark
I told you I was
episode.
going to go out on a high note,
We've
fellas.
managed to shit on Star Wars and Lord of the Rings
That's
in
all
one
right.
episode.
That's all right.
See, and you guys call yourselves fans.
Yes.
Yes,
Lord of the
we are.
Rings,
Hey,
I
defended it, Larry.
What?
Yeah.
I defended it.
And thank you, Matt. Thank you.
I was bored. Bored. Bored of the Rings.
Hey, listen.
I can see what you're
Listen,
saying,
you know,
though.
a clown. Look.
I knew he had to put in his catchphrase.
I have. Matt and I,
paid by
we have
Clown
this issue.
Incorporated.
Like I haven't been a big fan of Doctor Who, not knowing much
Big
about
fan?
it. But,
You've never seen a single
But
episode.
no, I have. But it's like they have told me some things about Doctor Who where I have said, you know what, I'm going to look into this because I haven't paid much attention to it. Look, obviously, you are not a fan of that whole fantasy world. I can't force you to like it, but it's like there are millions and millions of people who absolutely love this.
Larry, that's why he's saying it's overrated.
It's
He's just
not
saying
overrated.
It's overrated.
It's not overrated.
It's
But he
boring.
thinks it
It's
is.
boring.
Yeah.
It's boring.
It's not. No,
the
it's not
movies
boring.
are
It's exciting.
boring.
It's
It's
exciting.
boring.
It's
Just
exciting. It's
put
exciting.
the fucking ring in the volcano and just be done with it.
Because you don't understand when you have that ring and you have the power in your hand. You haven't experienced that kind of power.
I have a triple grande
Where
mocha
you
every
have.
morning. That's my power. It's my triple grande mocha.
Well,
right.
I
There you go.
respectfully disagree.
All right.
Well,
Flesh
okay.
Gordon. We all like it?
Flesh.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Flash Gordon
Okay.
or Flash Gordon?
Flesh.
Underrated.
Gordon. I love both Flash Gordon and Flash Gordon.
All right, good.
All right,
That's
go.
a good way to round this thing out.
All right.
And all leave friends.
This has been a blast.
It has.
awesome.
It has, yes.
Yeah.
That's
Now-
awesome.
Scott, I'm just
Matt.
curious. Now, you are a busy man. You must have...
Do you have to leave now?
Things. No, come on. Look, are you hosting any
Anything coming
Tolkien
up?
conventions?
Well, listen. I just came off of a 17-year run with Access Hollywood.
Holy
Wow.
shit.
Wow.
Reviewing movies and producing their film coverage of premieres in Sundance and Toronto and Comic Con
The
and all that
heart
stuff.
of Hollywood.
Long time
Yeah.
there, but I moderate panels and post screening Q&As all year long.
That's awesome.
I do a lot of emceeing for the Star Trek Las Vegas show that Creation does every August.
okay,
yeah. Nice.
And I still review movies all the time for Headline News and CNN and
Sweet.
NPR.
I've seen
But if you want to know my every thought, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Movie MANTZ. So since this is audio, just make sure you spell MANTZ with it's M as in mother, A-N as in Nancy, T-Z as in zebra. Movie MANTZ, Twitter and Instagram.
Movie
Awesome.
man.
And if
Right.
you want to
Mance.
follow his every movement, just follow him.
Follow me
That's what
around.
I
Stalk
do.
him.
That's
yes,
what I do.
we love that in Hollywood.
Yeah, 15 feet.
But
That's the law.
I feel young. This has been just
Fit right in,
blast.
Scott. This has been way too long that we took to get you on the show. So I'm
And
so glad.
Thank you for having me
Absolutely.
on.
And
I
if
can't
you'll
wait to-
ever deem to come back, we promise less spittle on your face.
I
people
cannot
screaming
wait
at
to
you.
come back and continue this converation about why Lord of the Rings is overrated.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Sounds good.
Done.
Yeah. Okay.
Done.
Well, let me write that down.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Time for listener shout out. This goes out to Ryan Larson of Arden Arcade, California.
All right, Ryan.
Ryan's into comic books, wrestling. He's a film fanatic and a writer. He's written for Rue Morgue and Diabolique magazine.
Cool. Those are
Wow.
great magazines.
Ryan's also the co-host of a podcast called Keep Screaming,
Nice.
We'll check it out.
where slasher movies are dissected one by one.
We're ready to hear that.
Ryan, thanks for your support. Speaking of slasher movies, also want to do a shout out to director Dylan Reynolds, whose feature The 420 Massacre drops on April 3rd
Cool.
on video.
I have a suspicion about what this is about.
Well, it's in the great tradition of holiday slasher movies like New Year's Evil and My Bloody Valentine.
Which I love.
And this is self-described as the first ever stoner slasher movie.
Hey, Matt, right up your alley.
And,
All right, man. That's cool.
Dylan sent me a screener, and I took a look at it. It's very, very well made, well shot, and well acted.
Nice.
So I do recommend it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Again, the 420 Massacre.
Cool.
Let's also remind our listeners that you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV, our Twitter handle at Monster Party HQ, Instagram also Monster Party HQ. If you're listening to us on iTunes, please take a moment and write a review. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget, you can buy the official Monster Party cap at our eBay store.
High quality cap.
Very high quality. That eBay store is Monster Party Store. Very easy to remember. And T-shirts will be forthcoming soon
Dun,
for
dun, dun.
those of you who are anticipating those. Also,
I'm already cutting the nipples out of mine.
High quality T-shirts, by the way.
two different designs, several different sizes available, men's and women's.
Cool.
We will let you know when those are up. Also want to remind everybody that we will have our own booth at Monster Palooza in
my God.
Palooza in Pasadena.
April 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Yeah, so we actually be there.
will actually be
2018.
there.
Yes.
How do you like that?
Cool.
So
Take that, monster partiers.
come to Pasadena that weekend and
Yeah.
find us at Monster
Yeah.
Palooza.
And I want to give a special thanks to one of our sponsors at Creature Features. Hey, Creature Features. And guys, I have some big news about Creature Features.
Oh.
Well, Taylor, Eric, and Matthew, they do an amazing job with their store. But guys, believe it or not, after nearly 25 years, I mean, Creature Features had a presence in Burbank, but guys, they have just lost their lease. Yes, they have lost their lease. So a lot of people are freaking out. They're going, what's the deal? Well, folks, I have some information. First of all, Creature Features, it's not going to have a building in Burbank.
As a physical store,
As
it
a
won't be
physical-
around, but
yes, but it still exists. Taylor, Eric, and Matt, they're still going to do art shows and book signings. What they do is they have talked to all kinds of places all around, like the ArcLight Hollywood, the El Capitan, Vista Theater, Blast from the Past, and a whole bunch of other places.
right. So
And
the
they're-
other venues they can use.
they're going to still do their stuff. What you need to do is you need to get onto their newsletter. And you just type in creaturefeatures.com, get on their newsletter, and it gives you all the information. They're still going to be selling stuff. They have a big warehouse. It's outside of Burbank. They're actually going to change some of it into a store. It'll be open sporadically, I think.
Cool.
But they need some time to deal with that. But guys, they're
Right.
still going to be selling stuff. You can still check them out on eBay at C-Features. Again, if you get on their website, check out their newsletter. It gives you information about all their art shows that'll be happening around Burbank.
They just had a
Yeah.
fantastic night gallery art.
Exactly.
exhibit.
So Creature Features isn't going away. It's just they won't have a store in Burbank.
Right,
Okay?
okay.
But so this is a positive thing.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Cool.
But I also want to give a special thanks to Time Tunnel Toys. Yay! Time Tunnel Toys, located at 1583 Meridian Avenue in beautiful San Jose, California. And Joe and Sharon, they do a beautiful job of just filling their store chock full of vintage antique toys, magazines, records, black velvet paintings, and then every 4 months they have this great toy convention. Go to their website, Time Tunnel Toys. It'll give you all the information.
Cool.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
Watch overrated and underrated films. Sorry, Star Wars.
This is like episode 109 or something?
Oh, no shit.
110 or 11 or something
Is
like
it?
that.
Yeah.
We're bi-weekly, and we've never missed a week. It's bi-weekly for 4 years.
Damn.
Consistency.
Bi-weekly and bisexual.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye.
That's why we're so popular.
All right. Keep your pants on. There'll be a cue, and then the pants will come off.
Guys,
Play by the rules.
first of all, it is great to see
Yeah, I'm
my
so
my
glad.
old friends and make new ones.
Yes.
This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a great time.
Let's see how it goes.
Wait till you see.
already turning against you.
Wait a minute.
And just to let you know,
You know what?
Gonna be, no,
He clearly is threatened.
I'm not. No, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have him here. I just wanted to let you know we'll be taking some photos as we go along. So just
Yes.
do your thing.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
by the way, just so you know, when I start getting into the underrated, I'm going to probably, whatever credibility I may have Gone.
Wow.
Okay.
Not
Gone.
Not necessarily. Not
It
necessarily.
comes. It's personal taste. That's part of the fun.
We go into all kinds of
controversial things.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so. We haven't even freaking started this thing, and I'm having a great time.
Oh man, I think we found the new Larry.
I mean, like we haven't even like you got your T-shirts.
What are your availabilities for next week?
Like, this is how you do. This is how you roll, man.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
it, man.
This is how we roll. This
Look how
is how
angry he
it's
is.
done.
He's
no,
so
I'm just saying,
threatened.
we have a signs. Hello, we have cocktails.
Are you gonna be at? You gonna be at Monster
Somehow
Palooza?
that's your fault because you can see the anger in his voice. I love it. The fact he's so.
when is
Why- I'm not angry.
Monster Palooza
I'm
is
not-
in Pasadena in mid-April. It's a big horror convention.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just didn't know when this year's was. but
Yeah,
I'll
and we're going to
probably
be there. We're going to have a booth, and we're going to do like an ongoing podcast
Oh,
throughout the
great.
weekend.
We're gonna have a
So,
massage chair.
Yeah.
What was
Come on by.
what was behind? Like what was the genesis of Monster Party? Like what?
You know what? It was
talk
it was
about-
Comic Con.
Oh, it was.
It was
Oh, is
it
that
was
right?
coming back to one of our hotel rooms every year and starting arguing and drinking about movies, and that became you started to do.
That was
podcasts.
like the most fun about Comic-Con after
Yeah.
a while. It was just like, we just want to hang out. We want to
Because someone would
party.
say something stupid about, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
Close Encounters is overrated. And I'm like,
hey, whoa.
oh, hey, yeah.
We could just do a whole show with me defending the genius, the brilliance, the magic
We
of
could do
Close
that.
Encounters.
You know
of
what?
the
Let's
Third
do
Do you know what?
Which, by the way, came out November 16th, 1977.
Yeah, people forget
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
People forget. And guess what?
Same
Did you know
year as
that?
I want
Star
to do the
Wars.
same thing with E.T. There's a lot of E.T. haters here. So
Not haters.
Yes.
See, this is
haters.
hate it.
Haters.
This is where he rewrites history.
No,
See, this
I
is
have
Wait a minute. This is overrated and underrated. So we're not saying like.
Yeah, none of
well,
the movies
James,
that-
James is a different thing. But
Yeah, we're not saying that we
Hated
hate
it-
the movies
hated it
that are-
less.
that are
Is-
I
overrated.
think
Right.
I could have sworn that strongly dislike might have been a phrase that somebody used.
I don't think so.
I have ET vitamins still in their little
Okay,
package, by the
all
way,
right.
from
Yeah,
that
he's-
time.
He's on
You still
about
have the little
15 of
hand
them right
pieces.
now.
Well,
All right, let's
I don't have those, but I do have the
levels
ET
and we'll go.
candies. The little
All right.
ET candies.
All
and
right,
the little,
shut up
little
for a
ET
second and let's take a level test here.
He just
Test,
wanted to know
test.
about
That's
the ET
great.
candies.
That's
Yes.
great. You know what? He'll find out later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry the show is getting in the way of your vitamin pitch here. But
I'm loving your bookshelf, dude.
oh no, yeah.
Matheson?
Yeah.
Like I'm wasting time here. What,
He's looking at our bookshelf. There are things called books,
Yeah,
Larry.
yeah, he can look without saying anything.
Why? Let our guest enjoy the atmosphere. Man, you are so hostile.
No,
Any,
I'm-
any
think
mention
it's
of the word clown is not intended to be.
Now it's just overkill, man. You don't know where to throw that clown, do you?
no, there's going to be no clown.
You're like
here. No.
This is like Nom.
There
You're
may
gonna
be
fall on your own
buffoon.
clown.
No
clown.
I've turned over a new leaf.
You say that every episode.
Sir.
Yeah, a lot of weird fiction stuff on the bookcase.
But Matheson, you got Matheson.
I got all the Matheson. I get, Algernon Blackwood and Sheridan Le Fanu and, of course, Lovecraft. We love the weird fiction. Yeah.
very, very impressive.
Okay. Now you would think we would be about to start the show, but I have to go to the bathroom. So, bye.
So while you
Okay,
do that,
now while
we'll take
I'm
a
in the
moment.
bathroom,
Yes.
he will continually insult you about everything
Have I
that you think.
insulted you?
Bring it.
I've
Bring it on,
Hey,
Mr.
Scott, have I
All right.
insulted you? I haven't insulted you once.
I will be back in a half hour.
I complimented you. I complimented you on your
You got
disco
me the
shirt.
Sprite?
I told you about the Sprite in the show.
The Sprite, you have another one waiting
Yes,
for me?
yes, we do.
This is very...
Are you done with that one?
No, almost.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
wait.
Should be ready.
Yeah, freshen it up. Oh,
All right.
Done.
ready.
Are you ready for another one?
Slam
Yes,
it
I
down
am.
like Miriam. In
Boom. Let's do this.
Well, you're closer.
well, good.
so
you
guys,
like,
how come our paths have not crossed before?
I know.
I know.
Especially because I'm a very much obviously movie person, a genre
You're
person,
practically
sci-fi
a
horror.
regular cast member already.
How-
And we haven't even started.
How has this not happened before?
I know.
Because
When
you're
John Platt
you're-
told me.
Here's
No,
why.
I'm good.
Here's why. You want to know why? It's because you're Mr. Access Hollywood. You're Mr. I'm doing television. You're out with the pros out there, and that's what you're doing.
But
you know,
this
you-
is my wheelhouse
yeah,
right here.
yeah.
This
You know
is
what?
his
Hey,
jam.
These are my peeps.
Let me tell you
I know.
something.
These
Scott.
are my peeps.
This is a show.
This
is a show,
this is a
not the
show.
crap you were working on. I mean, this is.
By the way,
I mean,
crap I was working on
Yeah.
is why I stopped working on it.
Oh, well,
yeah.
okay.
It was crap.
Well, and with all due respect to that
Yeah.
crap, because there's a
And
lot of people.
what crap are you working on right now?
Are we going to get personal? Are we going to get personal?
People in crap houses, I'm just saying, shouldn't throw turds.
I'm just saying that he wants to know why we haven't crossed
Guys got to
paths.
fucking work.
Because
Yes.
it's true though. I mean, because Scott has always been a big sci-fi fan too. I mean, it's like so. I mean, that's
And honestly, it was the reason I stayed for as long as I did was because I had
Commissary?
It opened. Yeah, the commissary. Was awesome.
Money was good.
The money was a steady gig.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
sure.
Yeah.
listen, it opened doors for me to do other things.
Of course.
Like I started doing like all these Q&As and all these panels and
Yeah.
all these press conferences.
Yeah.
And that was really where it was at for me.
Absolutely.
But it just got to be too much of the gossip. I don't care about
Right.
the Kardashians. I don't care about
Yes.
the fashion.
Right.
Yes. Or the fashion. It's like you want to rip. You know,
cares?
someone dresses up in a nice outfit. And it's like we need to rip into that. It's like what we're turning into this mean society.
Oh, we've
you know,
been a
it's
mean
like,
society.
I used to work
for a
on
while.
this show called The Dish
The dish.
with Danielle Fishel.
Yeah, I know the dish.
I performed and wrote on it. And talk about a crash course in things that I don't care about.
See?
Oh my God.
It's torture. It's
Yeah.
like it just over the years. Listen, I was there for a long, long time. 17 plus years.
Wow.
And it just like, you get there every morning, you go, you have a news meeting to go over the rundown of the show. Oh, it's the Kardashians, then it's the Bachelorette, and then it's This Is Us, and then it's Real Housewives, and then it's a fashion flashback with such and such. Like,
And then your soul, you just hear your soul going,
Withering away.
Help me, help me, help me.
now I understand.
to my room.